7 years of failure earned Han Sun-yeon the title Talentless Trash. Kicked out and broken, his dream of vengeance was dead until the Tower of Trials appeared. Given one impossible chance, Sun-yeon chose the hardest difficulty and was rewarded with the most feared power, Necromancy. Now, watch the weakest reject evolving at impossible speed, absorbing souls and synthesizing skills to become a force of nature. 7 years ago, a terrible disaster called a dungeon break occurred. Monsters appeared, causing immense suffering. During this catastrophe, a young boy's parents were killed. As he cried, he made a promise to himself that he would become a hunter and kill all the monsters. But in the present day, 7 years later, that same boy, Han Sun-yeon, has just been kicked out of the Hunter Training Center. He is devastated. In a flashback, we see the instructor telling him not to come back anymore. The instructor explains that while most awakened people finish their training in a few months, Sun-yeon has been there for 7 years with absolutely no improvement in his stats. The instructor bluntly calls his talent trash and says that his presence is bad for the training center's reputation. Other trainees overhear and mock him for his persistence. Hopeless as he was sitting on a bench. Just then he heard a mother nearby who was explaining to her daughter to always be strong and never give up. When she feels weak, just remember how her father died when trying to protect people from monsters. Their conversation gave Sun-yeon the will to persevere. Determined not to quit, Sun-yeon runs and goes to the director of the training center and begs for one more chance to take the hunter exam. The director becomes angry, assuming Sun-yeon is just upset about the money he spent, so he decides to give him half the refund, but Sun-yeon refuses. So, he violently punches Sun-yeon and throws him out into the rain. Lying on the ground, beaten and heartbroken, Sun-yeon wishes he had a unique trait or even a little bit of talent. Suddenly, a strange blue light appears around him. A message from something called the Tower of Trials praises him for his iron will. Then he's teleported somewhere. Hearing him scream outside, the director came out to beat him once more, but he was nowhere to be found. On the other side, he was teleported to an empty space. Everything is dark, and a system window announces that the tower has selected all suitable candidates from Earth. Sun-yeon is confused and wonders if this is another catastrophe. He is then presented with a choice of difficulty, easy, normal, or hard. The system explains that the rewards will be greater for a higher difficulty. Although he doesn't understand the situation, his gut feeling tells him that this is a huge opportunity. As he taps, a message wishes him good luck, and he is transported to the first floor of the tower. He finds himself in a massive desert. The system restores all his stats and provides him with a sword. The objective of this first trial is survival. The reward for completing it is a release of a unique trait. Sun-yeon is completely shocked. A unique trait is the one thing he has been desperately working for over the past 7 years. Filled with new determination, he heads toward to grab the sword. But before he could, the tutorial trial begins. A giant sand golem erupts from the sand beneath him. His objective is, he must defeat the sand golems and survive for 10 minutes, because this dumb guy chose hard as difficulty. As he stares at the monster, another window appears, revealing the terrifying stakes. The penalty for failing the trial is death. Faced with a gigantic sand golem, Sun-yeon's first instinct is to run away. He quickly realizes that running is not a good strategy. The golem is surprisingly fast, and the desert terrain makes it impossible for him to maintain his stamina for the full 10 minutes. He understands that the sword he was given was meant for fighting, not just for show. He remembers all the mockery people used to say to him, and decides that he is not going to die here. Recalling his 7 years of intense study, he remembers a key weakness of golems. If their core is destroyed, they stop moving. The problem is that the core is usually in a hard-to-reach place. It's on the chest. So now he makes a plan to climb a mountain and jump directly at the core. And he executes his plan and bravely jumps straight on the golem's chest, where the glowing red core is located. He stabs at it, but the core is incredibly hard and it only cracks. The golem grabs him and begins to crush him in its hand. As the pressure builds, Sun-yeon is flooded with memories of all the insults and mockery he endured for being talentless. Fueled by a desperate rage, he pushes back with all his might and throws that sword directly at the core, and yes, the core broke. With a final explosive burst of energy, the core shatters and the giant sand golem crumbles into dust. A system window announces that he has completed the tutorial trial with more than 7 minutes remaining. Exhausted but alive, Sun-yeon collapses in the sand. He can hardly believe that he, who was always considered weak, managed to defeat such a monster. The system then floods with notifications for his rewards. For clearing the first floor, he officially unlocks his unique trait and receives 1,000 points. As an additional reward, he also gets a skill called Fast Recovery E+, and another 500 points. Finally, the moment he has waited 7 years for arrives. The system announces that his unique trait is Necromancy. Overwhelmed with emotion, Sun-yeon realizes that his dream of becoming a hunter is finally within reach. However, as he celebrates, he notices a strange black fog rising from the spot where the golem died. A new system window appears, prompted by his Necromancy trait, asking if he wants to absorb the sand golem's spirit. As he taps on yes, the black fog rushes toward him and begins to painfully engulf his body. As the black fog from his Necromancy skill violently swirls around and into him, Sun-yeon surprisingly isn't in agony. The system announces that he has successfully absorbed the spirit of the sand golem and his proficiency with the skill has increased by 7%. the pain subsides, and the black fog condenses into a swirling red orb of energy in front of him. A new window shows his spirit count is now 1 out of a possible 5. He discovers he can use this absorbed spirit to permanently increase his stats. He immediately does so, and his strength increases by 3 and his health by 2. Sung-yoon is overcome with emotion. After 7 long years of his stats never increasing by a single point, he can finally become stronger. A detailed description of his necromancy trait appears, explaining that he can absorb spirits to permanently increase his stats or store them for other uses. With this power, he feels confident that he can finally become a hunter. Just then, a blue portal opens and the system instructs him to move to the waiting room. He steps through the portal and finds himself in a large, empty room with only a single bed. He is shocked to discover that all the severe injuries he sustained during his fight with the golem have been completely healed. As he lies down to rest, a system window appears, giving him 5 new commands he can use: Info, Store, Community, Inventory, and Trial. Curious, he first says Trial, and learns that the second trial will begin in just under 24 hours. He then says Community, which opens a chat room with other people who also chose the hard difficulty. The chat is in chaos. Experienced hunters are panicking because their powerful stats and skills have been reset, while ordinary people who are not hunters are terrified and confused about being dragged into the tower. Suddenly, the chat is disabled as a user named Admin XXX enters. The admin announces that they have important information for everyone who cleared the tutorial. They explain that the points earned from trials are the currency of the tower. These points are essential for everything, even for a single drop of water, and can only be earned by clearing trials. After sharing this critical information, the admin leaves and the chat is re-enabled. Sung-yoon understands the harsh reality of his situation. To survive, he must continuously face and clear these dangerous trials. Knowing that the experienced hunters will have an advantage in relearning their skills, he resolves to train as hard as he can. He uses the store to buy a shield and some basic supplies. He then spends the next 23 hours training relentlessly, taking advantage of the waiting room's automatic healing to push himself to his limits. Finally, the countdown reaches 0. A prompt asks if he will accept the second trial, and with firm resolve, he accepts. He is teleported to a lush forest. The system announces that the objective of this trial is assassination. He must assassinate the leader of an orc tribe within the time limit. Looking down from a cliff, Sun-jun is horrified to see a massive, heavily populated orc encampment stretching out below him. Sung-yoon knows that a direct attack is impossible. He remembers from his studies that orc tribes with guards are extremely dangerous, and an entire party of E-rank hunters would be needed to clear a village of this size. Realizing he is completely outnumbered, he retreats into the forest to come up with a better plan. He formulates a clever strategy. Knowing that orcs are diligent creatures who go out to hunt every morning and return at sunset, he decides to use this to his advantage. His plan is to use their greatest weakness, fire. He spends the day gathering wood and making torches, which he stores in his inventory. As evening approaches and the orc hunters have not yet returned, Sun-jun puts his plan into motion. He surrounds the orc village with his torches, setting the forest ablaze. The massive fire traps the weaker orcs inside and, more importantly, will block the stronger hunters from returning to help. With the perimeter secured, his next step is to eliminate the remaining orcs inside the fiery circle. He sneaks up on 2 orc workers by a river and swiftly kills one. He immediately activates his necromancy skill and absorbs the orc's spirit, which raises the proficiency to 9. However, his attack alerts a powerful orc guard. The guard charges at him, and Sun-yoon is quickly overpowered. In a moment of desperation, he uses the spirits he has stored to permanently increase his stats mid-battle. He instantly boosts his strength, agility, and stamina. The surge of power is immediate, and he can now fight on equal terms with the guard. After dealing with the threat, Sung-yoon proceeds further into the burning village. He finds the remaining group, 3 workers, another guard, and the tribe's old leader. Thanks to his recent power-up, he easily cuts through the weaker workers, leaving only the guard and the leader. The guard separates from its leader to fight Sung-yoon one-on-one. As Sung-yoon kills the final guard, the orc leader, who had seemed old and weak, unleashes a powerful stream of fire. Sung-yoon is caught completely by surprise and is engulfed in the flames. The pain is excruciating, but he manages to endure it. A system message appears, congratulating him for achieving the one who endures fire and unlocking a new skill, fire resistance. Badly burned but filled with rage, Sung-yoon glares at the orc leader and promises, "You're dead." Enraged and empowered by his new fire-resistant skill, Sung-yoon charges directly at the leader. He swiftly dodges the leader's fire and cuts his hand off. But the leader then storms into his hut. Inside, he is surprised to find 2 small, crying orc children huddled together. The sight makes him pause, as he is reminded of his own tragic past and his parents telling him to run away and survive. This moment of hesitation is broken when one of the young orcs lunges at him with a small knife. Calling the creature's actions stupid, Sung-yoon hardens his heart and kills the children, vowing to wipe out the bloodline of all monsters. With the leader assassinated, a system window confirms he has completed the 2nd floor. Back in the safety of the waiting room, Sung-yoon discovers that his shield was destroyed in the last fight. He then checks the community chat and learns 2 shocking things. Half of the people on his difficulty level died during the trial, and someone has discovered a way to return to Earth. Apparently, by using question vouchers that are given on each new floor, players have learned that a temporary return stone can be purchased after the 5th floor, and items for permanent return are available after the 7th floor. Sungyun is incredibly tempted. With his new necromancy ability, he could become a powerful A-rank hunter back on Earth. However, he knows he barely survived the 2nd floor, and reaching the 7th seems like an impossible goal for now. Deciding to focus on getting stronger, Sungyun checks his status. His stats are now averaging close to 20, a massive improvement from when he started. He then takes the 5 spirits he collected from the orcs and absorbs them all at once. The power that floods his body is immense, boosting all of his stats into the high 20s. He wanted to try the skills and got a little too excited, bumping into a wall and injuring himself. After recovering, Sungyun uses his accumulated points to buy new equipment from the shop, a D-rank shield, a dagger, and an assassin's cape. He spends the rest of his time in the waiting room getting used to his new power and gear. Finally, the next trial begins. He is teleported to a dark cave, and the system announces that the Guardian of Darkness will appear in 10 seconds. As the countdown ends, a shadowy figure emerges and attacks him with blinding speed. To his horror, he realizes the Guardian is a doppelganger, an evil, shadowy version of himself. The battle against the doppelganger begins instantly. The shadowy creature is an exact copy of Sungyun, matching him in speed and skill. During their first exchange, Sungyun gets a cut, but his fast recovery skill kicks in. He quickly realizes the horrifying truth: the doppelganger is perfectly mimicking his movements and even has access to his skills. He confirms this when he wounds the creature, only to see it use a healing skill of its own. Sungyun comes up with a clever plan. If the doppelganger is a perfect copy, it must also share the weaknesses in his self-taught swordsmanship. He tries to bait it into an opening, but to his shock, the doppelganger not only counters his move, but does so with a more refined and powerful technique. The creature is not just copying him, it is learning and evolving at an alarming speed. Realizing he is running out of time before his opponent becomes too strong to handle, Sungyun activates the special effect of his assassin's cape, gaining a 15% speed boost that lasts for 1 minute. He uses this burst of speed to launch a desperate, all-out assault. The gamble pays off, and he manages to stab the doppelganger through the chest. However, in the same motion, the doppelganger impales him, and Sungyun's sword is knocked from his grasp. Both are now critically injured. But Sungyun knows its healing abilities are probably superior to his own. With his sword gone and only seconds remaining on his speed boost, he makes a reckless decision. Choosing to die fighting rather than waiting for defeat, he pushes, tackles the monster with shield, and cuts its head with the shield. A system window then appears, congratulating him on clearing the 3rd floor of the Tower of Trials. Sungyun arrives in the 4th floor's waiting room, where all his grievous injuries are instantly healed. After confirming his recovery, he examines the spirit he obtained from the doppelganger. He is amazed to find that this single spirit is far more powerful and dense than any he has encountered before. Just holding it is enough to max out his necromancy skills proficiency, causing it to rank up from F to E. This level up comes with an incredible new ability. Whenever he absorbs a spirit, he now has a random chance to learn one of the skills that the original owner possessed. Sungyun is thrilled by this unbelievably powerful upgrade. Afterward, he checks the community chat and learns that the next trial will be an integrated trial, where all the challengers will participate together. The theme is competition, and Sungyun immediately worries that this means they will be forced to kill each other. The trial begins, and Sungyun is teleported to an arena in front of a large castle. He is matched with 2 teammates. The first is Lee Haeon, a friendly E-rank support hunter. The second is Lee Seung-hoon, an arrogant D-rank close combat hunter who immediately looks down on Sungyun for not being an official hunter. Well, let's call this guy Lee to not mess up the names. So Lee declares himself the leader and warns Sungyun that he will be abandoned if he proves to be a burden. The system then reveals the objective. It is a 3v3 competition. Sungyun's team must work together to defeat the Goblin King inside the castle before the opposing team of 3 challengers does. Failure for either team means death for all its members. The castle gates open, and a huge, surprisingly organized army of goblins charges out. The arrogant Lee is quickly overwhelmed by their numbers and coordination. He yells at Haeon to hurry up with her support spells and berates Sungyun for being distracted. Seeing that his teammates are struggling, Sungyun leaves his post to help. Haeon protests, worried about breaking their formation, because if he went to help him, who's gonna watch her back? But when she turns around, she finds the goblins dead because he already killed him. Meanwhile, Lee is cornered and about to be killed, screaming in frustration and blaming the useless newbie for his failure. Just in the nick of time, Sungyun appears and effortlessly saves him, cutting down the surrounding goblins with blinding speed. He then turns to the stunned Lee and tells him to stay back, calling him a bother. Sungyun proceeds to single-handedly slaughter the goblin horde, showcasing a level of power that leaves both his teammates completely speechless. He calmly absorbs the spirits of the fallen goblins, but to his companions, it just looks like he is standing amidst a swirling dark energy. Among the spirits he absorbs is one from a goblin ranger. His necromancy skill activates, and he is incredibly lucky, learning a new skill called Ranger's Knowledge. This skill permanently widens his field of view, making it easier to spot approaching enemies. He feels like he has hit the jackpot. But Lee still wasn't convinced of Sung Yoon's overwhelming power. But Sun Yoon takes charge and declares that he will lead the party from now on for the sake of efficiency. Lee reluctantly agrees. Sung Yoon assigns Lee to protect the support hunter Haeon while he takes the front line. The party proceeds deeper into the castle, with Sun Yoon effortlessly slaughtering goblins along the way. As they move, they notice that the number of goblins is thinning out. They soon discover a path of goblin corpses and realize the horrifying truth. The other team is moving much faster than them and is already far ahead. Sun Yoon knows that if the other team defeats the Goblin King first, his own team will be penalized with death. On the other side, the other team was slaughtering the goblins like nothing and even reached the boss room's gate. As the other team's leader is about to open the boss room door, a system message appears. The conditions for the boss battle have been met. Suddenly, a strange cube-like pocket dimension emerges covering the boss room's game. And Sun Yoon's is also inside too because they finally reach the gate too. The system announces a shocking twist. The boss battle will only begin when one of the two teams is eliminated. They are now trapped in a forced player versus player deathmatch. Sung Yoon's party finds themselves facing the other team, a trio of experienced and well-equipped hunters. Recognizing the danger, Sung Yoon tells his teammates that he will fight them alone. He asks Haeon for a single agility buff, telling her to give all her other support spells to Lee. He warns her that human hunters can be far more dangerous than monsters, so she should be prepared to use Lee as a backup. Confident in his abilities after killing so many goblins, Sung Yoon prepares to face the three enemy hunters head-on. As he charges, their leader, Lee Sion, orders his teammate to raise a powerful defensive shield. Sung Yoon, boosted by Haeon's agility spell, shatters it with a single blow. He engages directly with Sion, who is a skilled swordsman. However, Sun Yoon's stats and combat instincts are on another level. Sion finds that while he is technically the more refined fighter, he cannot land a hit. Sun Yoon's attacks are strange and unpredictable. Sion realizes that Sun Yoon has an uncanny ability to read the path of his sword. Using this to his advantage, Sun Yoon feints an attack, throwing Sion off balance before landing a fatal blow. With their leader dead, the other two hunters are quickly dispatched. After the intense battle, Sung Yoon's hands are shaking. Haeon approaches him, concerned that he is in shock from killing people for the first time. He reassures her that he is fine and insists they proceed immediately to the boss fight. With no objections from the now terrified Lee, Sung Yoon enters the boss room and effortlessly kills the Goblin King in a single strike. The system announces their victory and rewards them with a boost to all stats and a new skill, instant acceleration. Portals open for them to leave the trial. Lee, completely intimidated by Sung Yoon's monstrous power, leaves without a word. Haeon stays behind to thank Sung Yoon, telling him he only did what was necessary to survive. Grateful for her understanding, Sung Yoon accepts her friend request. Before she leaves, she tells him to look for her at the White Silver Guild when he returns to Earth. Now alone, Sung Yoon is faced with a difficult choice, whether or not to absorb the souls of the three hunters he killed. He knows that taking a human soul would be crossing a moral line. He decides that while he will not kill people for the sake of getting stronger, he will do whatever is necessary to survive and seize the chance the tower has given him. He makes the hard choice and absorbs the souls. After absorbing the souls of the hunters and the Goblin King, Sun Yoon enters the lobby for the 5th floor. The system has expanded, introducing a trial totalization feature that ranks all challengers. He sets his alias to Hunter and is shocked to see he is ranked 16th overall. He also learns that the top 50 players are designated as pioneers and will receive special benefits, including a privilege called a halo, if they maintain their rank until the 8th floor. Having finally reached the 5th floor, Sung Yoon has enough points to buy a return stone. He purchases the item, which will allow him to return to Earth for 3 days. With his new equipment and vastly improved power, he activates the stone, ready to finally go back home. Sung Yoon activates the return stone and is instantly teleported back to his small, messy apartment on Earth. The system informs him he has 3 days before he must return to the Tower of Trials. Exhausted, he immediately collapses into his own bed, relieved to be back in a familiar place. After a short rest, he wakes up and decides to take a shower. He confirms that the items he brought back from the tower, like his dagger, were not just a dream. He realizes that as more challengers from the tower return to Earth, the market for hunter equipment will likely crash. To get the best price, he needs to sell his items as soon as possible, but only certified hunters are allowed to sell such equipment. His original plan was to simply apply for the hunter exam now and take it the next time he returned, but his circumstances have changed. He needs to become a hunter immediately. He calls Director Huang from his old training center and, after refusing a refund for his membership fees, he asks for a favor to let him take the hunter test that very day. Director Huang is greedy and agrees to the request, but only after Sun Yoon implies he will pay for the privilege. Later, he took a bath and decided to go there quickly. Later, at the Hunter Association building, Sun Yoon meets with Director Huang and the test inspector, Kim In-hoo. The inspector informs him that he can skip the written exam and interview portions of the test. He is then led to a combat simulation room. Inspector Kim, who is in on the director's plan to make Sun Yoon fail, tells him to choose a difficulty level from 1 to 10. Sun Yoon remembers all the times he failed the level 1 test against a single goblin because he was too weak. Now, filled with a newfound confidence, he shocks both the director and the inspector by choosing the maximum difficulty, level 10. The test begins, and Sung-yoon finds himself in a virtual arena facing a massive, fiery phoenix. The creature lets out a powerful roar that debuffs him, decreasing his movement speed by 25%. Director Hwang watches from the observation room, smirking. He had not only arranged for the most difficult monster, but also tampered with the provided weapon to ensure Sung-yoon's failure. He is determined to teach the talentless boy a lesson for his arrogance. In a flashback, Director Hwang recalls his own hunter exam. He was overjoyed to pass, but his excitement soon faded as he realized he couldn't keep up with his more talented peers. He eventually gave up on improving, accepting that he simply wasn't born with the necessary talent. Believing that talent is everything, he is convinced that Sung-yoon, who he sees as talentless, should also just give up. Back in the present, the phoenix shatters the sword provided for the test. Director Hwang watches with a smug expression, confident that Sung-yoon is now helpless. However, Sung-yoon is unfazed. He activates his instant acceleration skill, which he finds to be far more effective than his assassin's cape. He easily dodges the phoenix's attacks, but because the broken sword is too short to reach the creature's core, his first attack fails, but he was still able to stab the creature. But then he uses a cement floor break and throws at the creature and, yeah, he defeats it. The brick straight went in the observation room. The test ends, and another worker congratulates him for becoming a C-rank hunter. Meanwhile, Inspector Kim confronts Director Hwang, furious that his plan to fail Sunjun backfired so spectacularly. The inspector explains that Sunjun's performance was so impressive, killing a high-level monster in under 10 seconds, that he had no choice but to award him a C-rank license. Anything lower would have raised suspicion from the Hunter Association. Sung-yoon then enters the room and overhears their conversation. He confronts the director, calmly calling him a failure. Enraged, the director attacks him, but Sung-yoon effortlessly dodges and retaliates, slapping him. Sung-yoon's display of power is so immense that the director can't believe he is only a C-rank hunter. Having witnessed Sung-yoon's incredible potential, Inspector Kim offers him a lucrative contract to become an exclusive hunter for the association. Sung-yoon turns him down, stating that he can't trust them after they manipulated his test. Over the next 2 days, news of the Tower of Trials breaks and the world learns about the challengers who were summoned there. But Sung-yoon has already used this opportunity to sell the equipment he brought back from the tower for a good price. As the time is already up, he prepares to return, excited to continue growing stronger in the tower. As the timer hits 0, he is teleported away, ready for the next challenge. Sung-yoon returns to the Tower of Trials and is pleased to find that he can bring items from Earth into the waiting room. As a reward for being the first person to return from Earth, he receives an achievement and a powerful new A-rank skill called Eyes of the Truth. This incredible ability allows him to see detailed information about items and people, and even to determine if someone is telling a lie. Feeling lucky, he uses his accumulated points to buy a new C-rank Thunder Sword with a paralysis effect and a stronger D+ rank shield. Fully equipped and ready for the next challenge, he begins the 5th floor trial. The trial is a hunt. He is teleported to a desolate, snowy mountain range called the Wolf Gorge and is given 1 day to defeat the boss, a wolf person. He is immediately ambushed by a pack of wolves, but with his new power, he finds them incredibly weak. However, they are quickly replaced by much larger and more ferocious, crazy wolves. Sung-yoon relishes the fight, enjoying the feeling of growing stronger as he slaughters wave after wave of the powerful beasts. The constant battle allows him to increase the proficiency of his skills, even ranking up his hunter dagger skill and fast recovery. He absorbs all the spritz too on the way. As he ventures deeper into the gorge, he comes across a gruesome scene. Dozens of crazy wolves have been slaughtered, but not by other animals. The wounds were clearly made by a sword. Using his Eyes of the Truth, he discovers traces of a powerful D-rank aura, a type of skill he has never seen before. Following the trail of destruction, he finds the trial's boss, the wolf person, but it is already dead. The system declares the past conditions have been met, but then a new message appears. It has detected an intruder in Sung-yoon's trial. The objective is suddenly changed. He must now kill the interdimensional intruder. From a nearby cave emerges a massive, intimidating knight in full-plate armor. The knight speaks, revealing that the Tower of Trials exists across multiple dimensions and calls Sung-yoon a barbaric challenger. He seems surprised that Sung-yoon is still alive and mocks him, asking if he is scared of death. Sung-yoon grips his sword, realizing he is now facing a powerful and intelligent enemy unlike any monster he has fought before. The knight, annoyed by Sung-yoon's silence, charges forward, unleashing a powerful wave of purple energy. Sung-yoon throws a corpse to block the view and dodges, counter-attacking with a swift strike of his own, aiming to slice the knight's armor in two. To his shock, his sword is blocked by a powerful barrier of purple energy. Then the knight hits, throwing him away on the rocks. The attack has backfired. Sung-yoon's arm is now bleeding from knight's blade. Confused by this unexpected outcome, the knight realizes Sung-yoon doesn't know about class invading. Curious, Sung-yoon asks for an explanation. The knight, believing Sung-yoon is about to die anyway, explains that from the 8th floor onwards, players can buy class invading tickets from the store to interfere with the trials of players on lower floors. He also reveals that he comes from a different world or dimension. As the knight is explaining, Sun-Yun activates his Eyes of the Truth skill and confirms that the intruder is telling the truth. The knight, sensing he is being judged, becomes enraged and attacks again. Sun-Yun feigns weakness, clutching his wounded arm and acting helpless. This clever act tricks the knight into a false sense of security. Sun-Yun then reveals his deception. Thanks to his pain resistance and fast recovery skills, his arm is not a problem. He was only pretending to be injured to get information. Now that he knows what he needs to, he prepares to fight for real. He absorbs all of his stored spirits at once, causing his stats to skyrocket. He then activates all his buffing skills, including his assassin's cape and instant acceleration. The knight is stunned by the sheer number of skills a 5th floor challenger possesses. He realizes that being on a lower floor is severely restricting his own stats. He unleashes his powerful aura attack, but Sun-Yun is confident he can dodge any critical hits. The real challenge is the knight's incredibly durable armor. Sun-Yun decides on a new strategy. He will hit the armor repeatedly until his sword's special effect triggers. After a furious exchange of blows, he gets lucky. The 10% chance to paralyze from his thunder sword activates, and the knight is now frozen in place, completely vulnerable. With his opponent paralyzed, Sun-Yun seizes the opportunity. He swiftly finds a gap in the knight's armor and delivers a fatal blow. As the knight, whose name is revealed to be Cade Adrax, lies dying, he is in disbelief that a mere 5th floor challenger could possess so many powerful skills. Sun-Yun calmly tells him that he was foolish to rely so heavily on his high-rank armor and skills. After the knight dies, Sun-Yun reflects on the act of killing, noting that he is becoming numb to it. He then absorbs the knight's powerful soul, which increases his necromancy proficiency by a massive 15%. Because the trial's difficulty was unexpectedly increased by the intruder, the system modifies his rewards. Instead of a C-rank item, he receives a new A-rank skill, 3 lacerations, and a large sum of points. Now in the lobby of the 6th floor, Sun-Yun realizes how dangerous the tower truly is, now that he knows about class invading. He decides to use one of his precious question vouchers to learn more. He asks about the specifics of floor invasions and if he can be alerted when one is happening. The system's administrator replies almost instantly. They explain that floor invasions are a feature unlocked on the 8th floor and cannot be used in special trials like the one he just experienced. They also inform him that he cannot receive information about floors he has not yet reached, so his second question cannot be answered. Since only the first part of his question was answered, his voucher is not consumed. After getting some crucial information, Sun-Yun uses the items he bought on Earth to repair his damaged equipment. He then checks the new leaderboard and is shocked to find he has jumped from 16th to 3rd place. He is now closer than ever to securing the Pioneer benefits. He then looks at the community chat, which is in a state of chaos. Some players are advocating for murdering other challengers to gain achievements and power, while others are horrified by the idea. One player, who had previously stirred up competition in the 4th floor lobby, is now being targeted by others for inciting conflict. Sun-Jun takes note of the player's new alias, Princess Sudi, and prepares for the 6th trial. The trial is a conquering mission. He is teleported to an ocean with a massive ship and is assigned a teammate. The objective is to capture a tile within 50 minutes. As he waits for his partner to appear, he is suddenly attacked from behind. He easily blocks the strike and turns to face his new teammate, who is shocked by the failed ambush. The teammate explains that he checked the community boards and learned that murdering is the easiest way to get achievements. He then calls Sun-Yun a hypocrite for pretending to have a conscience in a place where killing is necessary for survival. The 6th floor trial begins with Sun-Yun witnessing a grim scene, everyone killing their teammates. But among them were 2 players handshaking as a sign of trust, only to be stabbed later. The traitor earns an achievement for the dirty murder and coldly remarks that their victim should have been more careful. Sun-Yun's teammate then spots an opening to attack and lunges at him. Sun-Yun, having already dealt with one betrayal, is unfazed. He easily dodges the attack and kills his former teammate, earning the traitor achievement and a point in strength. He reflects that while he won't go out of his way to kill other challengers, he will not hesitate to eliminate anyone who attacks him first. Suddenly, another challenger, a mage, appears and casts a massive iron dome spell over a tile in the distance. He laughs, thinking he has secured an easy victory. Sun-Jun, however, simply leaps over the ocean toward the dome. The mage is shocked by his audacity, but Sun-Jun effortlessly shatters the magical barrier and kills the mage, taking the tile for himself. By displaying such overwhelming and ruthless power, Sun-Yun instills fear in the other challengers, who decide to avoid him. This allows him to begin capturing the tile peacefully. The capture process takes 10 minutes, during which he must fend off any challengers who try to stop him. He reflects on the brutal nature of the tower, where the weak are forced to distrust and kill each other for survival, a reality he finds both gloomy and hypocritical. Just as he is about to secure the tile, he is interrupted by a party of 4 well-equipped challengers. Their leader, a smug blonde man, reveals that they have formed a murder party to hunt other players for achievements. He introduces his teammate Kim Jin-hyun, who possesses a unique trait called Heart Solidarity. As the 4 attack, Kim Jin-hyun stabs himself. Due to his unique trait, the pain of the wound is transferred directly to Sun-Yun. While he is reeling from the unexpected agony, the party's tank unleashes a powerful water attack. Sung Yoon is drenched in seawater, which triggers a severe penalty, decreasing all his stats by 10 for 3 minutes. Now weakened, in pain, and surrounded, Sung Yoon finds himself in the worst possible situation. However, a sinister smile spreads across his face as he thinks, "If I was a normal challenger, that is." Despite being weakened by the seawater penalty and racked with transferred pain, Sung Yoon reveals that he is far from helpless. Their plan had a fatal flaw. They picked the wrong person to mess with. In a stunning display of speed and power, he instantly kills one of the attackers, earning the one-hit killer achievement and a new skill, Contempt for the Weak. This new skill increases his strength against opponents who are weaker than him. He immediately uses it against the party's tank, effortlessly shattering his shield and beating him to death with his bare hands. The party's leader, now terrified, tries to use his last remaining teammate, the one with the pain-sharing ability, as a human shield, cutting his limbs one by one to increase Sung Yoon's pain. Sung Yoon realizes that the only way to end the shared pain is to kill the caster. He endures the agony and pushes through, killing the caster instantly. Now, free from the debilitating pain, he faces the terrified leader. In a desperate last stand, the leader tries to attack, but Sung Yoon is too fast. He catches the leader's blade with his bare hand and, with a cold expression, ends the fight. With all the other challengers on his tile dead, Sung Yoon successfully completes the trial. He notes that in the end, the players who survived were the ones who trusted their teammates, with a few exceptions like himself and the player who went on a solo killing spree. He wonders if, in the eyes of others, he is also becoming a monster. After the trial, he absorbs the souls of the 4 hunters he killed, which is enough to level up his necromancy skill to D rank. He is then transported to the 7th floor waiting room where a new achievement list feature has been created. He is surprised to see that his first returnee achievement is S rank. He reviews his other murder-related achievements and the rewards they gave, acknowledging that killing has been very profitable. Finally, he opens the random box he received as a reward for the 6th floor. Expecting a low-grade item, he is completely bewildered when a tiny, angry-looking baby goblin pops out of the box. Sung Yoon now stares in disbelief at the tiny, angry goblin that hatched from his random reward box. Confused and annoyed, he tries to catch the creature as it zips around the room. After a comical chase, he finally grabs it, only for the goblin to bite him. Initially enraged, Sung Yoon is about to crush the creature, but he is surprised by its feisty attitude. He decides to test its strength and, after effortlessly dodging its tiny punches, he delivers a powerful punch of his own. The goblin explodes into pieces, dropping a B-rank wrought iron pendant. He realizes the creature was a living treasure chest and feels lucky to have received the highest possible grade item. The pendant is an amazing piece of equipment. It passively increases the effectiveness of his blade-related skills by 7%. When activated, it also creates a Steel's Blessing that reduces all physical damage by 10%. Sung Yoon is thrilled with this powerful new item, but quickly discovers its downside. It consumes a massive amount of mana. He decides to only use it in emergencies. After equipping his new pendant, Sung Yoon examines his necromancy skill, which ranked up to D. The upgrade has added a new defensive ability. He can now consume souls to protect his body from impact. He is a little disappointed it wasn't a boost to his soul absorption, but a defensive skill is still very useful. Just as he is about to start the next trial, he notices something strange. The usual waiting period before a trial is gone. He checks the community chat and confirms that the waiting time has been removed for everyone. While many low-ranking players are indifferent, Sung Yoon knows this change will primarily benefit high-rankers like himself who can clear trials quickly. He also notices a shift in the community's attitude. After the brutal 6th trial, the players who were advocating for murder have gone silent. Feeling that he is running out of time before other high-rankers get too far ahead, Sung Yoon immediately starts the 7th trial. The objective is to prove yourself by clearing 3 trials within 40 minutes. He is teleported to a familiar desert landscape and realizes with a shock that he has to repeat his 1st floor trial. However, his confidence turns to alarm when a sand golem emerges that is at least 3 times larger than the original. But Sung Yoon is still undaunted. He activates his instant acceleration skill to test it out and is amazed by the burst of speed. He easily dodges the golem's clumsy attacks but soon discovers a new problem. The golem's core is nowhere to be seen. He speculates that it must have relocated deeper inside its body as it grew larger. He realizes he can't find the core by just looking, so he decides on a more direct approach. He will slice the entire golem apart until he finds it. He activates his powerful new A-rank skill, Triple Laceration, which strengthens his blade for 3 consecutive attacks. With a single, empowered strike, he cuts off one of the golem's massive arms. He is now confident that with this new skill, he is more than a match for the creature. He is even grateful to the knight who invaded his previous trial, as the boosted rewards are proving to be invaluable. Sung Yoon then begins a relentless assault, repeatedly cutting the golem to pieces. Each time, the golem regenerates, but he notices that it is getting slightly smaller with each restoration. He realizes that the sand it uses to reform itself is a finite resource. Amused by this, at first he tells the golem that it's very cute, making it blush. He then taunts the golem, asking if it wants to go on a diet, with him making it angry. He continues to hack away at the golem, forcing it to regenerate again and again. As the golem shrinks, it becomes noticeably faster and more agile. Eventually, after a grueling battle, Sunyeon wears the golem down until it is just a small form. It is then that he finally spots the glowing red core, now exposed on its back. With no time to waste, he leaps forward and shatters it, completing the first of the 3 trials. However, when he tries to absorb its soul to increase his proficiency, he fails. Annoyed, he is immediately teleported to the next stage of the trial. The second objective is to overcome your own wisdom. He finds himself in a recreation of the burning orc village from his second floor trial. He witnesses a vision of the aftermath of his previous actions. A powerful orc hunter returns to find its home destroyed and its family killed. Consumed by grief and rage, the orc enters a berserk state, becoming far stronger than a normal monster of its rank. Sunyeon feels a flicker of empathy, remembering the pain of losing his own family. However, he quickly hardens his resolve, telling himself that monsters don't deserve pity. He activates all his enhancement skills and brutally slaughters the berserk orc and its remaining followers. As the last orc lies dying, Sunyeon cruelly asks how it feels to watch its family die, just as he had to. With that, the second trial is complete. He absorbs the souls of the powerful hunter orcs, which is enough to level up 2 of his skills, Hunter Dagger skill and Instant Acceleration. He is then immediately thrown into the third and final trial, Overcome Your Hesitation. To his surprise, he is not in a replica of his third floor trial. Instead, he finds himself back in the ocean arena from the 6th floor, where players had to capture tiles. Realizing the tower's trials are unpredictable, he drinks a health potion to prepare. To test the water, he throws his dagger into it, which summons a massive, hostile water that starts blowing all the tiles in the air. Sunyeon understands that to pass, he must find and reach the single red captured tile. He starts running across the platforms, activating his speed buffs to stay ahead of the water, all while being careful not to touch the cursed water. One wrong step sends him splashing into the ocean, immediately triggering the severe stat-decreasing penalty. Pursued by the relentless water, he spots the red tile in the distance. He pushes through, using instant acceleration to dodge the serpent's attacks as he makes a desperate sprint for the goal. Just as he is about to reach it, a massive wave crashes over him and he is dragged underwater. Sunyeon is in a desperate situation. Just as the debuff was about to hit him, 2 of his defensive abilities activate. First, his wrought iron pendant reduces the physical damage by 10%. Then, the new defensive ability of his necromancy skill kicks in, sacrificing some of his stored souls to create a shield and absorb the rest of the impact. He survives the attack, but is now completely out of mana, which deactivates his other buffs. With the clock ticking, he quickly consumes another soul to replenish his magic power and pushes toward the red tile, propelling himself onto the red platform just as time runs out. Exhausted but victorious, Sunyeon lies on the platform as the system confirms he has completed the 7th floor. He is rewarded with a new A-rank skill, Wind's Grace, 15,000 points, and a pair of C+ rank fast boots. He is then teleported to the 8th floor lobby. He feels uneasy, sensing that from this point on, luck will not be enough to get him through the trials. Just then, a series of system messages announce a massive expansion. Now that 1,000 people have cleared the 7th floor, new features are unlocked, a skill shop, a trial junction, the ability to permanently return to Earth, and the floor invading system. Most importantly, because Sunyeon has been a pioneer in the top 50 for every floor so far, he is granted a halo. The system presents him with 3 choices: ruler, hunter, or monk. After reviewing the descriptions, he dismisses the monk halo, which relies too much on innate talent. He hesitates between hunter, which boosts skill proficiency, and ruler, which enhances unique traits and grants the skill synthesization authority. Convinced by the system's recommendation that ruler is the most suitable for him, he makes his choice. The ruler halo immediately triggers an evolution of his unique trait. He is presented with 3 potential paths for his necromancy: summoner, magic swordsman, or creator. He quickly chooses summoner, which allows him to use absorbed souls to raise undead skeletons. His new halo also grants him the ability to synthesize 2 of his existing skills to create a new one. Excited by this incredible power, he decides to combine 2 of his least used skills, Extinction for the Weak and Combat Continuation. The synthesis is successful, and a message appears announcing that a new skin has been created. He is shocked and excited when his 2 F-ranked skills merge to create a new D-ranked skill called Forceful Breakthrough. This powerful new ability allows him to break through any restrictions created by skills, as long as his mana is higher than his opponent's. Feeling confident, he decides to try combining skills again. This time, he combines Ranger's Knowledge and Fire Resistance, both F-rank skills. The result is Strengthened Eyes, an E-rank skill. He's a little disappointed that it only went up 1 rank. He figures out that the success of skill combinations depends on how compatible the skills are. His first combination worked well because the skills were a good match, but the second pair was not. Later, while lying in bed, Sunyeon wonders if his recent success is because of his own hard work, or if he has just been lucky because of his special ability. He decides to stop overthinking and checks the rewards he earned from the 7th floor. He receives an incredible A-rank skill called Wind's Grace. It increases all his speeds by 10% every time he says its name, and he can stack this effect up to 7 times for a 70% speed boost. He is ecstatic, especially when he realizes the skill uses no mana. He also gets a C+ rank item, the Boots of Swiftnesses, which further increases his attack and movement speed. He is very happy that all his rewards are focused on making him faster. Afterward, Sung-yeon visits the skill store but finds the skills for sale are low quality and very expensive. Despite the cost, he knows he needs to prepare for future fights, so he spends a lot of points to buy 2 D-rank skills, Magic Circuit and Magic Resistance. He hopes these will protect him from mind control abilities like one he faced in the past. The moment he buys Magic Circuit, the skill is painfully engraved directly onto his body, making him feel like he is on fire. When the intense pain finally stops, he feels incredibly light. He tests his body and discovers that the Magic Circuit has not only increased his mana efficiency, but has also boosted his physical abilities. He is very satisfied with his purchase. Now the next thing was whether he should go watch or challenge the next floor. Meanwhile on Earth, another hunter is sitting alone, trying to recruit party members for an emergency gate. Because he is only an E rank, no one wants to join him. A group of bullies approaches and tries to pressure him into selling his gate entrance license, making fun of him for being weak. Just then, Sun-yoon arrives and asks if there is a spot available for the party. He shows his C-rank hunter ID, shocking the lone hunter who immediately agrees. One of the bullies angrily grabs Sun-yoon's shoulder, telling him to back off. Sung-yoon calmly tells him to let go, but his eyes glow red as he releases a wave of intense, intimidating energy. Hyungnim, who is also a C-rank hunter, is shocked and terrified by Sung-yoon's immense power, wondering how another C-rank could be so strong. Hyungnim's friends mistakenly praised their leader for his powerful energy, but he didn't reveal the truth. Realizing he is completely outmatched and noticing that officials from the Hunters Association are watching, Hyungnim backs down. He pretends to be merciful, telling Sung-yoon he is lucky before quickly leaving with his group. The lone E-rank hunter is left confused by the sudden turn of events. Sung-yoon suggests that since no one else is likely to join their party, they should just head into the dungeon. The hunter, whose name is Lee Cheol-won, is very nervous about entering with just the two of them. Inside the dungeon, the E-rank hunter is visibly on edge. Sung-yoon tells him to relax, confidently stating that he can handle most D-rank monsters by himself. This worries the hunter even more. He points out that this is Sung-yoon's first real dungeon and then shares a surprising fact. C-rank hunters have a higher death rate than E-rank hunters. He explains that E-ranks know their limits and are extremely cautious, while C-ranks often become overconfident, which leads to their deaths. He is worried about Sun-yoon's confidence, especially since they are missing a tanker and a healer. Given his experience, the E-rank hunter asks to take the lead for safety. Sung-yoon agrees and they proceed deeper into the cave. Soon, they encounter a lizardman. The hunter recognizes it as a monster that uses weapon skills and tells Sung-yoon that he will get its attention while Sung-yoon looks for an opening. However, instead of attacking, the hunter just stands frozen in a strange staring contest with the monster and swinging his sword in air. Feeling impatient because he only has 3 days for his temporary return to Earth, Sung-yoon decides to take matters into his own hands. He activates his instant acceleration skill and kills the lizardman in a blur of motion, leaving Cheol-won completely stunned. Sung-yoon apologizes for interfering but explains he is in a rush. He then declares that he will take the lead from now on. At that moment, a group of lizardmen appears, and Sung-yoon single-handedly slaughters them all. The E-rank hunter watches in awe, realizing he is witnessing a super rookie in action. After the battle, the hunter apologizes for only being useful as a bag boy to carry the loot. As he begins to discuss how they should split the rewards, Sung-yoon tells him they can talk about it after they get out of the dungeon. While they talk, Sung-yoon secretly absorbs the souls of the dead monsters, noticing that his skill proficiency is increasing more slowly from D-rank monsters. Thanks to Sung-yoon's power, they reach the boss room gate in no time. The E-rank hunter is thrilled, realizing that with Sung-yoon, clearing the entire dungeon is actually possible. After confirming Sung-yoon does not need a rest, they step through the gate. Inside, they find the boss, a massive, powerful lizard king. When his anxious partner asks for the plan, Sung-yoon simply tells him to wait for a moment and calmly walks toward the giant monster, admitting with a smile that he does not really have one. The battle with the lizard king begins. The massive boss, surprisingly fast for its size, lunges at Sung-yoon. Although Sung-yoon can keep up with its speed, the monster manages to land a powerful tail whip, sending him flying across the room. His partner, Cheol-won, watches in horror, thinking Sung-yoon is done for. However, a system window announces that the soul has absorbed the user's damage. Sung-yoon emerges from the dust completely unharmed, surrounded by a dark, swirling aura. He smiles, thinking this is the perfect opportunity to test his new skills. The Lizard King then unleashes a special ability, creating a purple energy field that slows all movement by 25%. Sung-yoon immediately counters by activating Forceful Breakthrough. Since his magic power is more than double the Lizard King's, the slowing effect is completely cancelled out. But while Sung-yoon is unaffected, Cheol-won is suddenly paralyzed by the skill's secondary effect. The Lizard King ignores Sung-yoon and charges straight for the helpless hunter, Cheol-won. Realizing he is too far away to intervene in time, Sung-yoon uses Summon the Dead. a group of skeleton soldiers erupts from the ground, momentarily blocking the boss's path. In that brief second, Sun Yun activates Wind's Grace 6 times, increasing his speed by 60%. Moving like a flash of light, he closes the distance and slays the Lizard King just before it can kill KO1. With the boss defeated, system notifications flood in. Sun Yun receives massive stat increases from absorbing the Lizard King's powerful soul and even absorbs one of its skills, Spiritual Eyes, which will allow him to see invisible attacks. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, an official from the Hunters Association Gate Management Team, Shin Wujin, is waiting impatiently. He is bored and jealous of the raid teams that get big commissions. He watches as the dungeon gate suddenly turns gray, signaling that the boss has been defeated and the raid is complete. He is shocked to see only Sun Yun and Kaowan walk out. Wujin rushes over and introduces himself, hoping to purchase the ownership rights to the now cleared gate. Kaowan quickly explains that Sun Yun defeated the boss all by himself. Assuming he must be a secret A-rank hunter, Wujin is stunned when Sun Yun insists he is only C-rank. Eager to hide his identity as someone from the Tower of Trials, Sun Yun cuts to the chase and asks for their offer. Shin Wujin offers him an incredible 1.2 billion won, leaving Sun Yun wide-eyed. Elsewhere, a woman is exhausted from working non-stop at a desk piled high with papers. This woman is Lee Haeyeon, who is the team leader of a special department that manages challengers from the Tower of Trials. She is completely exhausted, feeling stressed because she has failed to recruit any powerful challengers for her program. While thinking about her struggles, she remembers the incredibly strong man she met on the 4th floor, Sungyeon, and wishes she had made him an offer. At that exact moment, her phone buzzes with a message from Sungyeon himself, asking to meet. They meet at a cafe, where Sungyeon is still trying to process the 1.2 billion won that just appeared in his bank account. A flustered Haeyeon arrives, playfully complaining that he took a long time to respond. After Sun Yun buys her coffee and cake, he gets straight to the point. He needs to join a guild. He lists 3 very demanding conditions. He wants the freedom to ignore guild summons, complete privacy for his activities in the tower, and unrestricted access to the guild's dungeons. Haeyeon tells him that his terms are impossible because no guild would agree to a contract where they get nothing in return. Just as Sunyeon is about to give up, Haeyeon suddenly grabs his hand and makes a surprising offer. She asks him to join her guild, the White Silver Guild, and promises that she will make his impossible conditions possible. However, there is a catch. To prove he is worth such a special contract, he must first clear a C-rank dungeon all by himself. Sunyeon agrees to the terms, and they shake on it. The next day, Sunyeon arrives at the C-rank dungeon location, having run there as a warm-up. He moves so quickly that he creates a huge gust of wind, shocking Haeyeon, who is already waiting for him. They enter the gate, which transports them to a wide, empty field. Haeyeon assures Sunyeon that he does not need to worry about her safety, as she has a high-level protective artifact. She will stay far away so she cannot be accused of helping. As Sunyeon prepares for the test, his Spiritual Eyes skill activates, allowing him to sense dozens of invisible enemies hidden beneath the ground. Suddenly, monstrous centipede-like creatures erupt from the earth. Haeyeon screams in panic, recognizing them as deadly, poisonous demons that are far too strong to be in a C-rank dungeon. She realizes they have entered an irregular dungeon. But before she can even finish her warning, Sungyeon is already moving, effortlessly slicing through the powerful monsters. Haeyeon watches in absolute awe, her fear turning into excitement. She smiles, realizing that her decision to bet on Han Sungyeon's incredible power was the right one. He moves with incredible speed, his sword crackling with a rare lightning effect as he cuts through the swarm of monsters. In less than an hour, he single-handedly defeats every monster in the area. He calls out to Lee Haeyeon, telling her it is safe to approach. She walks toward him, completely stunned. She knows that deadly poisonous demons are incredibly dangerous monsters that C-rank hunters are advised to fight only in large parties. To see Sunyeon defeat so many of them by himself proves to her that he is destined to become unbelievably powerful. As Sungyeon absorbs the souls of the defeated monsters, he receives a massive boost to all of his stats. Feeling more powerful than ever, he confidently tells Haeyeon that he is ready to face the boss. They enter the boss room, a dark and swampy area. It is strangely quiet, with no sign of the boss. Suddenly, a massive monster made of blue fire and water erupts from up attacking Haeyeon. Thinking fast, he uses skills to instantly take them both to safety. She thanked him for the save. The monster attacks again, but his speed is still unbeatable. And Sunyeon now prepares to finish the fight. He activates all of his speed-enhancing skills at once, instant acceleration, the boost from his Boots of Swiftnesses, and he fully stacks Wind's Grace 7 times, increasing his speed by a massive 70%. Moving in a flash of blue light, he strikes the boss 3 times, killing it instantly. Haeyeon is left speechless, jokingly remarking that she is no longer sure who the real monster is. Outside, she officially tells Sungyeon that he has passed the test and can now use the White Silver Guild's dungeons. She then shares some important information about the Tower of Trials. The difficulty level a challenger chooses at the beginning is not permanent. It can change based on their performance. She explains that because Sunjun has been growing at such an overwhelming rate, the system has likely assigned him a secret, even harder difficulty, Deadly. She advises him to be careful and expresses her wish to watch him grow for years to come. Then later, a system window announces that Sun Yun's 3 days on Earth are over. He is teleported back to the Tower of Trials, where he immediately accepts the trial for the 8th floor. A new system feature called a turning point appears, allowing him to choose a focus for the trial. To improve his necromancy, he chooses combat. Because he has consistently chosen combat and holds the Pioneer qualification, he is granted a special reward, a face-to-face chat with one of the tower's administrators. The system searches for an administrator who specializes in combat and connects him with someone called the Iron-Blooded Monarch. Suddenly, Sun Yun is transported from the familiar trial floor to a cold, snowy wasteland filled with countless swords stuck in the ground. A final message appears announcing, "You have entered the Iron Blood world, the personal domain of the administrator known as the Iron-Blooded Monarch." When Sun Yun instinctively tries to use a skill to analyze his surroundings, he gets a notification that the monarch is offended by his prying. Suddenly, a glowing sword appears and flies off, with a message from the monarch telling him to stop wasting time and follow it. The sword leads him to a large cabin. Inside, he is greeted by a beautiful, long-haired woman sitting on a throne. She introduces herself as the Iron-Blooded Monarch, the administrator in charge of his interview. To Sun Yun's surprise, she instantly appears right in front of him, commenting that he looks quite normal for a monster. She reveals that she knows about his impressive performance on the 4th floor. She also explains that administrators are not all-powerful gods. They are actually subordinate to the tower itself and cannot harm him. She tells him that this personal interview is a special benefit for pioneers, like him, allowing him to ask any questions he has. Sun Yun first asks why another challenger was able to invade his 5th floor trial. The monarch explains that invading another world's floor offers better rewards, which is why powerful, experienced challengers often do it to kill and steal from weaker ones. She then reveals a shocking truth. After the 20th floor, the tower will begin to merge with towers from other worlds, and you will have to compete with challengers from different dimensions. Finally, Sun Yun asks his most important question, what is the Tower of Trials? The monarch confesses that she does not know either, as she and all the other admins were once challengers themselves. She reveals that any challenger who dies after the 40th floor is given the chance to be revived as an administrator. All of them failed to reach the top. When Sun Yun asks what is at the tower top, the monarch's demeanor changes completely. She attacks him, grabbing him by the throat, testing his reaction. Sun Yun, sensing no real killing intent, doesn't dodge her assault. But when asked why he breaks the house which he was held against, impressed by his skill and guts, the monarch laughs and offers him a disciple contract. Sun Yun is then teleported back to the lobby of the 8th floor. He discovers he now has access to a contractor's exclusive store, where he can spend special points, SP, given by his new sponsor, the monarch. The store offers powerful abilities called authorities. After looking through the options, he decides to purchase Serene Mind, an authority that helps him stay calm and rational in any situation, which he believes will be crucial for his survival. With his new ability, Sun Yun starts the 8th floor trial. The objective is to defeat a lich that summons skeletons. He is then transported to a vast field covered with an unbelievable number of skeletons, with a massive castle looming in the distance. He is shocked and wonders why there are so many of them. Chapter 27. He realizes their tactic is to simply overwhelm him with sheer numbers. With a confident smirk, he decides to meet their numbers with his own power. He jumps down with a powerful wave of energy, wiping out hundreds of skeletons in a single blast. Now he starts killing. However, he is disappointed to see that his skill proficiency only increases by a tiny 0.8% for each kill. He realizes the skeletons are too weak to be of any real use for his growth. Just then, a booming voice echoes across the battlefield, demanding to know who dares to cause a disturbance in its sacred grounds. Sun Yun looks toward a massive castle in the distance, knowing the voice belongs to the lich he is supposed to defeat. Deciding to deal with the endless skeletons later, Sun Yun absorbs the souls of the ones he has already killed, creating his own skeleton soldiers to keep the army busy. He then uses Wind's Grace to boost his speed and dashes toward the castle. There, he finds the lich, a powerful undead being wearing a golden crown. The lich is furious that a lowly human has entered its domain and summons some massive guardians to attack. Sun Yun easily dodges the guardian's attack and sizes it up, noting that it is about as strong as the sand golem he fought before. He mockingly asks the lich if it can summon anything stronger. Enraged by his arrogance, the lich sends the guardians to attack again, but Sun Yun, using instant acceleration, moves in a blur and instantly destroys the guardian. He discovers that defeating the stronger guardian monster gives his skills a much bigger proficiency boost. A brilliant and slightly evil idea pops into his head. He asks the terrified lich if it can summon another guardian. When the lich confirms it can summon a new one a few minutes after the old one is destroyed, Sun Yun's plan is set. He forces the frightened lich to continuously summon guardians, one after another, which he then effortlessly destroys to quickly and efficiently level up his skills. After countless repetitions, his unique trait, Necromancy, finally reaches 100% proficiency and ranks up to C rank. Having served his purpose, the exhausted and defeated lich begins to crumble away, cursing Sun Yun with its final breath. Sun Yun easily finishes it off and absorbs its soul, gaining a massive 17.4% proficiency boost and completing the 8th floor trial. As a reward, he receives a stat increase, 30,000 points and 1,000 special points SP from his new sponsor. Transported to the 9th floor lobby, Sun Yun immediately checks the details of his newly upgraded Necromancy skill. He is amazed by the powerful new effects, a 20% chance to absorb a skill from a soul, and the power to inherit the proficiency level of any skill he absorbs. Knowing the next trial could be much harder, he decides to upgrade his weapon skills. Since his hunter dagger skills is maxed out and he now uses a sword, he buys a basic swordsmanship skill from the store. He then uses his skill synthesis's ability to combine the D-rank dagger skill with the E-rank sword skill. The synthesis is a success, creating a powerful new C-rank skill called Demon Slayer, which triples his cutting power and doubles his attack speed against non-human enemies. Feeling lucky, he decides to try combining more skills. He successfully merges Iron-Blooded Regeneration and Pain Resistance, creating an incredible B-rank skill called Ashen Blood. This new ability, derived from a mutant vampire, triples his regeneration rate and nullifies up to 40% of incoming pain. To test it, he pays to turn off the lobby's healing effect and deliberately cuts his own hand. The deep wound heals in an instant, proving how powerful his new defensive capabilities are. Feeling fully prepared, Sun Yun enters the 9th floor trial. The objective is to kill all the monsters in an arena within one day. However, as soon as he arrives, he receives an alert. A challenger from the Muram world has invaded his trial. His new objective is to kill the intruder. He is confronted by an old man named Baek Sunhak, a commander from the Muram League. Baek Sunhak introduces himself and attacks Sun Yun, but after witnessing his speed, Baek Sunhak asked for Sun Yun's name, claiming it is a matter of courtesy among fellow swordsmen. Sun Yun is annoyed by this fake politeness, calling it disgusting since the man's only goal is to kill him and steal his reward. Deciding to end the fight, the invader unleashes a powerful unique trait called Sword Light. A blinding flash fills the arena, and a system message informs Sun Yun that he has been blinded for 5 seconds, leaving him vulnerable to attack. Now Sun Yun is in a dangerous position. However, his mono-resistance skill kicks in, cutting the duration of the blindness in half. At the same time, his spiritual eyes skill activates, allowing him to perceive attacks even without his sight. He narrowly dodges Baek Sunhak's fatal strike but still gets a deep cut on his neck. His Ashen Blood skill immediately begins to heal the wound. The invader is shocked that Sun Yun could dodge while blinded. In response, Sun Yun activates his own speed skills and closes the distance, engaging the old swordsman in a fierce battle. They are evenly matched, much to Sun Yun's surprise. Annoyed, Baek Sunhak declares he will no longer hold back and uses Sword Light again. This time, however, Sun Yun is prepared. As his vision disappears, he activates his spiritual eyes again. But Baek Sunhak's attack speed has increased dramatically, and a powerful blow sends Sun Yun flying. The impact is partially absorbed by a protective pendant, but he is still injured. Just as the blindness wears off, Sun Yun sees Baek Sunhak's hand glowing with a strange energy. The old man accuses Sun Yun of using dark sorcery, calling him a fake martial artist. Sun Yun retorts that Baek Sunhak is a hypocrite for criticizing his borrowed skills when the invader's own unique traits are also gifts from the tower. Now we see the old man's backstory. He has invaded dozens of floors, dozens of times up until now, and has killed dozens of challenges from a diverse range of worlds. However, people from the Earth world were especially weak in every skill to the point where he could be called a honeypot. And with his unique trait, Sword Light was enough for him to end them with one strike, but this time it was different. After some intense battle with Sun Yun, the whole train is already exhausted, and even the admin started laughing at him, believing he's going to lose to a young challenger. Enraged, Baek Sunhak activates a flurry of his own skills, dramatically boosting his speed and power. Just as he is about to attack, he is hit with a floor invasion penalty, which decreases all his stats and deactivates some of his skills. Seeing his chance, Sun Yun activates Spiritual Eyes to counter the sword lights that he knows is coming. With his senses heightened, Sun Yun is able to perfectly anticipate and counter the invader's movements. He unleashes his 3 Laceration skill, and with 3 powerful strikes, he cuts down the old swordsman from the Muram world. With his enemy defeated, a final message appears, congratulating him on clearing the 9th floor of the Tower of Trials. Exhausted but victorious, he absorbs the powerful soul of the defeated challenger, gaining a massive 27% proficiency boost. A system message appears, announcing that because the trial's difficulty was increased by the invasion, his rewards will be adjusted. Instead of the original reward, he receives a new C+ rank skill called Sixth Sense, along with 35,000 points and 1,000 special points. As he is about to be moved to the lobby, he is flooded with messages from various administrators who are watching his fight. They are all incredibly impressed by his performance. His sponsor, the Iron-Blooded Monarch, gets annoyed by all the attention he is receiving and warns him not to be tempted by the other admins. Then, something unexpected happens. An administrator named White Crane Swordmasters asks for permission to add a new authority to Sun Yun's exclusive store. The Iron-Blooded Monarch explains that other admins will sometimes offer abilities to gain favor with promising challengers. Seeing no reason to refuse a free gift, Sun Yun accepts. A new C+ rank authority, Swordchi Masters, is added to his store. As soon as it was added, the White Crane Swordmasters quickly told him to remember this favor. He is then transported to the 10th floor lobby. The system announces another expansion. A public area is now open. He wonders if the administrators can watch him there too. Before exploring, he decides to check his new Sword Chi Master authority. It costs 500 SP and allows him to infuse his weapons with mana, making them stronger. He browses the other available authorities and sees some incredible abilities, but he only has 2000 SP. He can only afford Sword Chi Masters or another skill called Bone Reconstruction. Remembering how powerful Baeksunhak was, he decides he needs more power to survive and purchases Sword Chi Master. He immediately activates the new skill to test it. The mana flows around his sword like water, and he notes that for every minute it's active, his mana consumption increases by 2%. He realizes he'll need to use it carefully. After deactivating it, he checks his other reward, the Sixth Sense skill, which sharpens his instincts so much that he can use them to make judgments. Curious about the new public area, he opens the community forum. It's buzzing with activity. Challengers from different countries are all gathered, surprised that they can understand each other. He then spots a crucial message. Someone mentions that you can meet other challengers and even exchange authorities in the public area. Intrigued by the idea of making deals, he decides to go check it out. In the public arena, we see a man is teleported to a large open area where other challengers are walking around. Elsewhere, a group of sinister-looking men corners another Korean hunter, the same one. They are annoyed by Korea's reputation as a powerful nation and decide to attack him, noting that killing is allowed outside the main public space. They use their unique traits to weaken the hunter, paralyzing him and draining his stats. As they are about to finish him, a woman dressed as a nun steps in and threatens to expose their actions to the community. The leader of the group smirks and tells her he might spare them if she strips and hands over all her items. Just as things get tense, we see Sung-yoon, who was just walking by. The group immediately turns their attention to him. Seeing that he is also Korean, they use their weakening abilities on him. However, the hero's resistance skills activate automatically, completely negating all of their negative effects. The attackers stare in shock as Sung-yoon, now annoyed that his quiet walk was interrupted, envelops his sword in a glowing blue aura and says, "You guys started this." He activates instant acceleration and moves in a blur, instantly taking down 2 of the attackers. The leader frantically tries to cast a defensive spell, but Sung-yoon is too fast. He shatters the man's ice shield with a single punch. The terrified leader begs for his life, but Sung-yoon shows no mercy and eliminates the entire group. Afterward, he calmly absorbs their souls, gaining a 6% proficiency boost. The nun and the young A-rank hunter he saved approach him. The nun apologizes for not helping, but Sung-yoon tells her it is fine. The young man, completely in awe of Sung-yoon's power, stammers and asks if he is a ranker. Sung-yoon confirms with something like that because he has always been in the top 10. The man thanks him profusely for saving his life. As Sung-yoon turns to leave, the young man makes a strange request. He asks for the bodies of the dead Murim challengers. In exchange, he offers to give Sung-yoon a skill. The man reveals his own unique skill, Gluttony, which allows him to consume the bodies in a vortex of dark energy. True to his word, he has his sponsoring administrator, Glutton, grant Sung-yoon a new skill called Wings of Steel, which is added to his exclusive store. While they are talking, Sun-jun receives a flood of messages from the administrators. His sponsor, the Iron-Blooded Monarch, is clearly annoyed, warning the other admins to stay away from her contractor. The young man, whose name is revealed to be a former team manager from the Hunter Association, gives Sun-jun his business card and shares some valuable information. He explains that challengers from 3 other worlds, Ares, Murim, and Kallion, are known to invade Earth's tower. Ares prioritizes chivalry, Murim are similar just a bit aggressive, and Kallion is a nation of elves. The young man heads to the auction house, but Sung-yoon goes to the arena. Finally arriving at the public area, inside he finds a large coliseum-like space where challengers are either betting on fights or fighting each other. After reviewing the rules, he learns that he can wager a skill, item, or authority to challenge another player for their wagered reward. Then we see a famous American hunter, Catherine Bennett, who is famous for being undefeated and no one was challenging her because they know they're going to die if they tried. She has 17 wins and E losses and is wagering a C+ rank skill with a 6th rank in leaderboard. Bored that no one dares to challenge her, she's about to leave when she receives a fight request from Sun-yoon, who is in the 3rd in leaderboard. Intrigued that a rookie with 0 fights would challenge her, she accepts. They are both transported to the fighting stage. Catherine compliments Sung-yoon's courage but warns him that he has made a mistake. As the fight begins, she immediately unleashes her powerful authority, Earth of Fire, launching a massive fireball at him. Sung-yoon easily dodges the smaller blast before activating his own authority, Sword Chi Masters. With his sword glowing with blue energy, he slices straight through the giant fireball, shocking Catherine. Appearing before her unharmed, he coolly throws her words back at her, saying he'll be the one to give her that learning experience. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a serene bamboo forest where a man with long white hair is peacefully drinking tea. He is the administrator White Crane Swordmaster, and he is observing Han Sung-yoon's arena match through a magical water portal. He's incredibly impressed, noting how well Sung-yoon can already use Sword Ki. Pleased with his decision to gift Sung-yoon an authority, he vows to keep gaining the young challenger's favor. believing Sunyeon might be the one to achieve what he never could and solve his long-cherished desire. The scene then cuts back to the intense battle between Han Sung-yoon and Catherine Bennett in the arena. Catherine unleashes a barrage of powerful fireballs. Sung-yoon, activating instant acceleration, masterfully weaves through the deadly projectiles. He notes that his cloak's defensive ability is not very effective without his Wind's Grace speed buff. As the fight continues, Sung-yoon realizes that his Sword Kai Master Authority drains more mana the longer it is active, so he needs to end the fight quickly. At that moment, a system notification pops up. He has finally fully absorbed the soul of Baek Soonhak, the challenger he defeated on the 9th floor. He receives a permanent stat boost and learns a new B-rank skill, Lightning Sword Kai. Distracted by this sudden power-up, he leaves himself open. Catherine seizes the opportunity and launches a volley of flaming swords at him. The attack hits, but his Ashen Blood skill activates, healing the damage. Deciding to test his new ability, Sung-yoon combines Sword Ki Masters with Lightning Sword Ki and unleashes a massive wave of blue energy. The attack is so powerful that Catherine is forced to create a defensive shield, and the force of the blast pushes her back. But then Sung-yeon teleports behind her and puts his sword on her neck. Completely outmatched, Catherine admits defeat and gracefully surrenders. Sung-yoon wins the match and is awarded her C+ rank skill, Gust Blade. Back in his seat, he reflects on the fight, impressed by Catherine's strength and a little annoyed that his cloak got burned. Now, with the one on record, Sung-yoon immediately jumps into another fight, this time against Awaki Yuji, the 11th ranked challenger from the Japanese server. His new opponent mocks his torn clothes, but Sung-yoon just smiles, finding it funny that he was thinking the exact same thing about Yuji. The comment enrages his opponent, who charges forward. Sung-yoon easily blocks the attack and, realizing how much stronger he has become, defeats Yuji in a single blow. He then goes on a winning streak, and he defeats everyone, earning the Battlemeister achievement. Meanwhile, in the Mura mainland, a muscular man with long black hair is meditating. A subordinate arrives with shocking news. The Great Elder, Baek Soonhak, is dead. The last they heard from him was that he was going to invade a floor in a newly connected dimension called Earth. The meditating man, referred to as Young Master, then proceeds to effortlessly slay a giant mythical beast that suddenly appeared from behind him. Standing over the creature's body, he gives a chilling order: find the challenger who killed Baek Soonhak, no matter what it takes. Han Sung-yoon returns to the 10th floor lobby. Feeling refreshed, he checks his exclusive store and is excited to see the Wings of Steel's authority, a skill that lets him fly. Though he doesn't have enough special points to buy it yet, the thought of flying makes him happy. For now, he decides to focus on what he can do. He spends the next hour using skill syntheses to combine all the lower-ranked skills he has accumulated. He successfully creates 3 powerful new skills: a B-rank defensive skill called Counter Shield, a C+ rank movement skill called Clandestine Shadow Step, and a C+ rank attack speed buff called Chaotic Sword Fighting Play. He is particularly impressed with Counter Shield, which creates a magical shield that can absorb 25% of incoming damage and release it in a single counter attack. Ready for the next challenge, Sung-yoon enters the 10th floor trial. The objective is to cooperate with the team to stop the resurrection of the darkness-devouring monarch within 3 hours. Team members are assigned based on their rank, and Sung-yoon finds himself grouped with 4 other challengers, including the 1st and 2nd ranked players. He also recognizes one of the members, Princess Sudi, as the arrogant and manipulative challenger from the 4th floor. Princess Sudi immediately points at Sung-yoon, falsely accusing him of being a murderous player-killer who backstabbed his own teammates. The other 2 challengers, who seem to know each other, are wary. The 1st-ranked player, a man in a metal mask named Kim Sung-hoon, steps forward. He states that teamwork is essential for survival and declares that the liar in the group will be exterminated on the spot. Just as things are about to get dangerous, the 2nd-ranked challenger Oh Chun-seok cleverly diffuses the tension. He asks Princess Sudi to prove his claim by stating Sun-yoon's real name. Since nicknames were only introduced on the 5th floor, there is no way he could know it from their encounter on the 4th floor. Trapped in his lie, he panics and blurts out a random name because it was impossible to prove it. Proving his lie, Sun-yoon coolly pulls out the hunter's license he brought back from Earth and reveals his true name, Han Sung-yoon. With the liar exposed, Kim prepares to eliminate Princess Sudi. However, Sung-yoon stops him, saying that he is really angry now and wants to deal with the situation himself. Princess Sudi, believing he is an easy target, confidently prepares to fight him alone. He tells that he only cares about his own survival and opens a grimoire, casting a spell that wraps magical vines around Sung-yoon's feet. But to his shock, Sung-yoon's mono-resistance skill instantly shatters the spell. Princess Sudi then launches a barrage of energy spheres. Sung-yoon dodges them with ease, and then reveals that the spheres he dodged have now surrounded him, forming a powerful trap. Just as they are about to explode, he activates his new skill, Counter Shield, ready to turn his opponent's power against him. While they are fighting, the other 2 members of their team, Kim Sung-hoon and Oh Chun-seok, are discussing Sung-yoon from a distance. Chun-seok is amazed by Sung-yoon's power. Kim, the top-ranked challenger, admits he has never seen him before but senses that he is incredibly strong, possibly on the same level as himself. He theorizes that Sung-yoon's rank might be lower than his actual skill level because he has had bad luck with team-based trials in the past. Back in the fight, Sung-yoon easily overpowers Princess Sudi. He pins him to the ground and prepares to finish him off. In a desperate attempt to save himself, Sudi warns that the team will not be able to clear the trial without him. Unmoved, Sung-yoon is about to strike when Sudi activates his own unique trait, Deceit, which gives him a temporary stat boost. He unleashes a powerful chain attack, but Sung-yoon, using Wind's Grace and his counter shield, easily deflects the attack and hits Sudi with his own reflected power. As Sudi lies defeated, Sung-yoon takes his two most valuable items, an A-rank coat and a B+ rank sword. He then tells his teammates that the matter is settled, the 30-minute grace period ends, and the 10th floor trial officially begins. After some walking, the team finds themselves in a large circular chamber with 4 massive statues of knights. The system announces that the trial has started and they must stop the resurrection of the Dark Monarch. Suddenly, the statues, referred to as the Dark Royal Order, begin to move. Each one carries the monarch's head, and their goal is to deliver those pieces to the central statue. Sung-hoon explains that they need to stop the guards before they can complete the resurrection. With a simple plan in place, the 3 powerful challengers each pick a target and rush into battle, wishing each other good luck. Han Sun-yeon and his 2 companions each charge toward one of the guards. Sung-yeon plans for a quick victory using his sword chi, but is shocked when the powerful guard counters with its own purple sword chi. Sung-yeon realizes that these are all boss-level opponents and begins to worry if his teammates will be okay. Meanwhile, Oh Chun-seok, the mage, playfully teases Kim Sung-hoon for being careless. Chun-seok then gets serious, putting on a silly-looking hat and declaring that the fact he is wearing it means his opponent is about to die. He unleashes a massive magical attack, prompting Sung-yoon to think that his blood is boiling with excitement at finally facing strong opponents and that Chun-seok is no normal mage. Ready for a real challenge, Sung-yoon activates a series of skills: Wind's Grace, Clandestine Shadow Step, Chaotic Sword Fighting Play, and Lightning Sword Ki. To boost his power and speed, he unleashes a devastating attack called Lightning Bomb, completely destroying his guard. At the same time, his teammates also managed to defeat their powerful opponents. But the statues weren't completely destroyed and they started running toward the entrance. Sun-jun believes they have prevented the monarch's resurrection and prepares to finish off the remaining enemies. Suddenly, a loud rumbling sound echoes through the chamber. The giant cavalryman statue at the entrance, which they had ignored, has come to life. It gallops toward the central altar, carrying the missing piece, the head. The other 3 statues were carrying was the fake one. The team desperately attacks to stop it, but they are too far away. The cavalryman was about to put the head in its place, however Sung-yoon threw his sword as hard as possible and destroyed the head they thought they had won. However, the cavalryman cuts his own head and successfully places the final piece on the altar, and the main statue begins to crack and glow with a dark, menacing energy. A monstrous new being, the Dark Monarch, emerges from it. Immediately, a new system message appears, giving the team a new, special objective: defeat the resurrected Dark Monarch. As the team prepares to fight, a system message reveals the boss has an authority called Inviolabilities, which negates all damage from challengers with lower stats. Frustrated, Kim Sung-hoon and Oh Chun-seok realize they cannot harm the monarch. The boss then summons a legion of Dark Knights. As his teammates struggle, Han Sun-yoon comes up with a plan. He asks them to stall the monarch while he deals with the knights. Trusting him, Sun-hoon and Chun-seok agree and charge toward the boss. Kim unleashes a powerful lightning bomb on the monarch, but to his surprise, the Inviolabilities authority protects him. The monarch then uses another authority, a monarch's dignities, which paralyzes both Kim and Chun-seok. Then the boss attack, but they were able to survive because of Kim's mana resistance skill. However, they are now in the condition to dodge the next attack. Just as the monarch is about to finish Kim and Chun-seok, Sun-jun intervenes. He uses his Necromancy to absorb the souls of the knights he defeated earlier, gaining a massive, permanent stat boost. Now powerful enough to bypass the monarch's invincibility, he activates his counter shield, sword keymaster, and lightning sword key. He throws an attack at monarch, and of course, he deals some damage. The monarch tries to use its paralysis ability on Sung-yoon, but his forceful breakthrough and mana resistance skills negate it. His skills rapidly level up from the intense pressure. He engages in a battle with the monarch alone and begins to laugh, filled with a thrilling sense of impending victory. Kim and Chun-seok watch in awe as Sun-yoon, now radiating immense power, prepares to face the monarch. They realize they are witnessing the birth of a new top ranker. Sun-yoon's counter shield fully charges, and he combines it with all of his speed and attack buffs. In one final, explosive move, he unleashes the stored energy in a concentrated beam, completely obliterating the Dark Monarch and clearing the 10th floor trial. Meanwhile, the iron-blooded monarch is observing the fight for her own dimension. She is incredibly impressed by Sun-yoon's insane growth rate, noting that he is a rare talent unlike any other. She becomes determined to keep him as her contractor and get closer to him before any other administrators can, believing he is the key to fulfilling her own earnest wish. After defeating the Dark Monarch, Sun-yeon is showered with rewards for completing the 10th floor trial, including a special potion, points, and a large sum of special points for his major contribution to the fight. Kim and Chun-seok are amazed by his performance and send him friend requests, promising to talk more later. Before Sungyun is moved to the next lobby, a system-wide announcement declares that with over 1,000 challengers having cleared the 10th floor, the system will now expand, allowing dimensional travel to other worlds like Ares and Murim. Sungyun realizes this would be suicide for him right now. He also learns that the system has expanded in other ways, allowing him to make an additional contract with another administrator. He decides to use the potion for increasing skill proficiency he received as a reward. He chooses to use it on his Wind's Grace skill, instantly raising its proficiency to 100% and ranking it up to A rank. He is thrilled to discover that the upgraded skill no longer has a one-day cooldown, but instead consumes a small amount of mana every minute it is active. Next, he absorbs the soul of the Dark Monarch, gaining another massive stat boost and a new A-rank skill, Mana Management. This powerful skill lifts most restrictions on his mana use and will help him level up his other magic-based skills. Just as he is processing all this new information, he is simultaneously invited to the territories of both the Iron-Blooded Monarch and the White Crane Swordmaster. Surprised, he chooses to visit his primary sponsor, the Iron-Blooded Monarch, and is teleported to her snowy world. After finding her in her house, she reveals that she and the Swordmaster had a bet on who he would visit first. She tells him that his new mana management skill is incredible and instructs him to try channeling all his mana. As he does, his mana circuit skill is forcibly upgraded, and he feels his physical power increase dramatically. In the process, he blows away the only towel she was wearing outside. After a brief, embarrassing moment where the monarch catches him admiring her figure, she explains that the mana management skill will level up all his other magic skills. She then reveals that the system's interference domain expansion was added so that administrators could more actively help their chosen challengers. As a sign of this, she gives him a new authority, Iron-Blooded Sword, which is engraved directly into his soul. Confused by her generosity, Sungyun asks why she is helping him so much. She explains that it is because she sees his immense potential and is investing in him to help her achieve her own earnest wish. Before he can ask more, he is bombarded with invitations from the White Crane Swordmaster. The monarch, annoyed, lets him go. Sungyun is then transported to a peaceful bamboo forest, but before anything else he decided to practice a little and test his new skills because he just saw an open ground. Meanwhile, White Crane Swordmaster was waiting for him all goofy. Then he meets the White Crane Swordmaster who, to his surprise, is a young woman with long white hair. They both sat and decided to talk because that was the plan. She explains that she was previously contracted to bake Sunhak and confesses that she has been watching Sungyun ever since his fight with him. She then makes him a surprising offer. She wants him to make an additional contract with her and become her disciple. In return, he will gain access to all of her powerful authorities. She explains that she needs the sharpest sword to fulfill her own earnest wish. When Sungyun asks what an earnest wish is, she explains that this is a special authority given to administrators by the tower. It stems from their past regrets, and if a challenger they are contracted with can fulfill it, they will be able to change the past. To grant her wish, Sungyun learns he must reach the lobby of the highest floor in the Tower of Trials. He agrees to her contract and officially becomes her disciple, receiving several stat increases as a reward for now being a disciple of 2 administrators. Afterward, the administrator gives him a serious warning. She says someone is looking for him and that the information is so important it will use a question voucher. She reveals that in the Murim dimension, a powerful group called the Murim Alliance is in chaos because Sungyun killed one of their high elders, Baek Sunhak. However, the main threat is not the alliance itself, but a man known as the Sword Dragon from the Namgun family. His name is Namgun Hyuk, a genius called the Blue Heaven Sword Dragon. While his stated reason for finding Sungyun is revenge, his real motivation is simple curiosity. The administrator warns Sungyun that if he ever faces Namgun Hyuk, he must be prepared to fight for his life. Sungyun is then moved to the lobby of the 11th floor. Realizing the new danger, he knows he must get stronger. He uses a return stone to go back to Earth. Upon his return, he is flooded with missed calls and messages from Lee Haeon, who is urgently telling him to come to the Hunter Association. He uses his new Wings of Steel authority to fly there immediately. At the association, Lee Haeon and another man show him shocking footage from Shinjuku, Tokyo. A powerful man, described as an otherworldly challenger, emerged from a gate and instantly killed 6 A-rank hunters. The footage reveals the man is none other than Namgun Hyuk. He left a message for the sole survivor. The Blue Heaven Sword Dragon Namgun Hyuk has come to avenge Baek Sunhak. The situation is dire, as other countries are refusing to send their hunters to help Japan, wanting to protect their own people. Lee Haeon is extremely worried and begs Sungyun not to go, upset that he is always doing such reckless things. He thanks her for her concern, but firmly states that this is a problem he needs to resolve himself. A flashback to Namgun Hyuk's past in the Murim world. As a young prodigy, he easily masters Sword Kai at the age of 13, surpassing even his elders. However, his grandfather, Baek Sunhak, and also the Swordmaster, warns him that martial arts are a path to transcendence, not a tool to harm others. The scene shifts to the present, where Namgun Hyuk has grown into a powerful but dissatisfied warrior. He finds climbing the tower and killing weak opponents unfulfilling. Driven by a twisted desire for a real challenge, he uses a dimensional invasion ticket to travel to Earth's dimension, hoping that the man who killed Baek Sunhak, Han Sung-yoon, will finally give him a thrilling fight. Back on Earth, Sung-yoon arrives at an airport hangar where he is greeted by Chun-seok and Kim. They are soon joined by the fourth member of their team, Catherine Bennett, the American hunter Sung-yoon defeated in the arena. The reunion is a bit awkward, with Catherine clearly flustered to see him again. The president of the Japanese Hunter Association, Ari Chika, arrives and thanks them for coming. She explains that with most countries unwilling to risk their own hunters, they are Japan's only hope. Sung-yoon, ever the pragmatist, immediately demands that she double the reward for the mission, explaining that he is not motivated by heroism but by the promise of growth and rewards. The president agrees to his terms. Catherine then reveals her trump card, an authority called fire suppression. If an opponent stronger than her touches her fire, their stats will be drastically reduced and some of their skills will be sealed. The team's new plan is to create a situation where Nam Gung-hyuk is forced to touch her flames. Just then, they receive news that another S-rank hunter from China, Peng Jamun, has arrived in Shinjuku and is already confronting Nam Gung-hyuk. The Chinese hunter arrogantly rushes in to attack. Sun-yeon and his team from a helicopter, seeing his chance, comes up with a bold plan. He grabs Catherine, activates his Wings of Steel's authority, and flies them both high into the sky above the battlefield. With Catherine complaining the whole way, he leaps off her back and dives toward Nam Gung-hyuk. As Nam Gung-hyuk beats a Chinese hunter one way, Sun-yeon lands dramatically on top of Nam Gung-hyuk, announcing his arrival. Nam Gung-hyuk, who had been looking for him, is finally face to face with his target, but he doesn't know and wants to know Sun-yeon's identity. He introduces himself, and the two immediately begin their battle. At first, Nam Gung-hyuk is completely unimpressed. He calls Sung-yoon a weak bastard for using fake sword ki and effortlessly blocks his attacks with his sword. He mocks Sung-yoon for relying on powers from the tower and shows him the overwhelming power of his own real sword ki. The fight is interrupted by Sun-yeon's party members who are watching nearby. Annoyed by the insects ruining his fun, Hyuk launches a massive, deadly attack toward them. Seeing his friends in danger, Sun-yeon has a flashback to a lesson from his administrator, the White Crane Swordmaster. She taught him how to go beyond a simple mana injection and create a true connection with his power. Just as Hyuk's attack is about to hit, Sun-yeon puts his new lesson into practice. He unleashes a completed sword ki for the first time, creating an attack that perfectly cancels out Hyuk's, saving everyone. For this, the tower rewards him with the achievement, Unification with the Sword. Instead of being angry, Nam Gung-hyuk is thrilled. He laughs maniacally, saying that Sun-yeon has finally made things interesting. He compares Sun-yeon to a sandcastle. The more effort put into building it, the more fun it is to destroy. Realizing he cannot protect his friends and fight at full power, Sung-yoon tells them to get to a safe place. They agree, mentioning they will be ready to execute something called the Flame Plan when they see an opportunity. The one-on-one battle resumes, with the two trading blows that destroy the city around them. Despite his new power, Sun-yoon knows he is still weaker. His swordsmanship skill is only C rank, while he estimates Hyuk's to be A rank. He is slowly being pushed back. As he runs low on stamina, one of his party members throws him a recovery potion. But before he could drink it, Hyuk snatched it and drank it himself. Nam Gung-hyuk is now grinning sadistically. He reveals his greatest pleasure in life, watching the moment a person's hope turns into absolute despair. In a chaotic battlefield, Hyuk looks down on Sun-yeon. Hyuk is confused because, despite Sun-yeon's terrible injuries, his eyes are still filled with hope. He taunts Sun-yeon as he falls, demanding that he fall into despair, and then attacks his eyes, blinding him. Lying on the ground and unable to see, Sun-yeon realizes he is at his limit. He only has enough stamina for one final attack, but he knows it is useless without his sight. At that moment, he senses his comrades approaching because that was the plan. He becomes desperate, screaming for them to stay away because he knows they will be slaughtered if they come to help. Hyuk understands that Sun-yeon's hope comes from his approaching friends. He sees Catherine running toward them and attacks her. Kim too got involved. Then he grabs Catherine and laughs cruelly as she screams. Enraged, Sun-yeon calls him a perverted bastard. Just as Hyuk is enjoying Sun-yeon's angry expression, an ice spell called Ice Hold suddenly freezes him. Chun-seok appears to send the injured Catherine far away to safety. He then tries to use a hide ability to escape, but Hayek easily breaks free from the ice. Seeing this, Sun-yeon feels a deep despair, remembering a day 7 years ago when he was also powerless to protect anyone. As he feels helpless, a massive swarm of countless mice, sensing the battle as a disaster, runs to the surface from underground. Sun-yeon uses a skill to kill them and absorb all their souls, instantly recovering his stamina for the one powerful attack he has left. Peng Jamun rushes in, punches Hyuk while Catherine quietly puts her fire on Hyuk. A system message appears, explaining that due to the fire suppression authority, Nam Gung-hyuk's abilities are now drastically decreased. His sword chi and sword flame are sealed for 10 minutes. Hyuk, angry, now activates his own unique trait, Forceful Battle, creating a 30-meter fighting domain that no one else can enter. Nam Gung-hyuk mocks him, asking what a blind bastard can possibly do. But Sung-yoon has a revelation. He realizes that losing his physical sight has awakened his true spiritual eyes. He can now perfectly sense everything within the 30-meter area, as if he has a third eye. A series of system notifications pop up, showing that his skills have leveled up dramatically from the intense, life-or-death battle. His spiritual eyes, sixth sense, demon slayer, and ash and blood skills all become much stronger. With his senses heightened and his enemy's power weakened, he easy dodges the Hyuk's attack. Sung-yoon stands up, blood streaming from his now glowing red eyes. He feels confident that he can finally fight on par with Nam-gung Hyuk. The battle reaches its peak. Hyuk is confused, wondering how Sun-yoon's movements are suddenly improving and his blade is getting sharper. Sun-yoon activates a series of skills to increase his power. First, he uses Clandestine Shadow Step, which increases his movement speed by 30% in the shade. He follows this with Instant Acceleration and fully stacks his Wind's Grace skill, boosting all his speeds by 70%. Finally, he activates Chaotic Swordfighting Play, increasing his attack speed with his sword by 20%. Despite all these power-ups, Sun-yoon knows he is only barely on par with Hyuk. He worries that his stamina will run out soon, and the 10-minute weakening effect on Hyuk will end. He decides he must end the fight right now by using an unexpected variable. He throws his sword and Hyuk dodges, calling him a foolish idiot for making a desperate choice. But that wasn't the plan when Hyuk tried to punch him. Sun-yoon activates his authority, Iron-Blooded Sword. The Iron-Blooded Sword went through Hyuk, making him heavily injured. Just then, the 10-minute time limit expires. The Fire Suppression Authority and Hyuk's Forceful Battle Domain both come to an end. Deciding he was too focused on playing, Hyuk declares he will end their fight another time. He opens a glowing blue gate to escape back to the Muram dimension. At that moment, the other hunters realize what is happening. They all feel that if they do not kill Nam-gung Hyuk right here, he will become a great disaster for Earth in the future. They all shout and rush forward to stop him from leaving. Hyuk looks back, confused by their actions, and thinks to himself, run away? Suddenly, Hyuk unleashes a massive attack, Sword Flame, on the hunter running toward Gim. A huge pillar of golden fire erupts from him, engulfing the area in a blinding explosion. Sun-yoon, however, came in front. The force of the attack completely destroyed his counter-shield skill, and his arm is badly injured. His friends shout his name in worry. Hyuk stands unharmed and tells Sun-yoon that he could have killed him from the start. He calmly says, "I'll come back soon," and disappears into the gate. Hyuk successfully returns to the Moram dimension, where his followers greet him as Young Master. He collapsed, blooding coming out of his mouth. He vows that no matter what it takes, he will drive Sun-yoon to despair. Later, in a hospital in Tokyo, Sun-yoon wakes up to see Lee Haeon by his bed. She tells him he is badly hurt and should not move. However, he activates his Ashen Blood skill, and his wounds heal in an instant, leaving her speechless. He immediately asks where the others are. He visits Catherine's room, and she screams in surprise and slaps him because she was half naked. Chun-seok was in the hallway when asked about the handprint on his face. Sun-yoon explained that Catherine is full of energy and seems to be fine. He adds that Kim is not in his room. Chun-seok explains that Kim is in a bad state because he lost his right arm. Sun-yoon finds Kim on the rooftop. Kim was shocked after looking at Sun-yoon's healed arm. However, his arm is not going to be returned back to normal now. Sun-yoon feels terrible and apologizes, saying this would not have happened if he were stronger. Kim tells him not to worry because he has a skill to make up for his lost arm. Sun-yoon reflects on his past actions, saying he was climbing the tower like a madman just to get stronger. But still, Kim says he is relieved that Sun-yoon is not an evil person. Kim removes his mask and lights up a cigarette. He offers one to Sun-yoon, who politely declines, explaining that he stays away from smoking and drinking. However, upon saying Kim's face, Sun-yoon seemed to have recognized him from somewhere. Later, they took a photo. They got interviewed, and after talking, he was again ready to go back to the Tower of Trials. He mentions that his equipment was repaired and upgraded. It seems he has become very famous for stopping a calamity. He sees a video of his fight online where people in the comments are calling him the Sword Phantom. He then remembers that Kim, he was the legendary Lightning Emperor, one of Korea's most powerful S-rank hunters. Kim gave him his number to reach out to him anytime he wants. His time in the real world is over, and a system message announces his return to the Tower of Trials. He enters the 11th floor lobby, determined to get stronger. Realizing his stamina was a weakness in his fight against Nam-gung Hyuk, he opens the shop to buy new skills. He finds several stamina skills but cannot decide which is best, so he uses his abundant points to buy all of them. Using his skill synthesis, he begins combining the new skills. First, he merges sunlight absorption and moonlight absorption to create a new, more powerful skill called photosynthesis. Next, he tries to combine photosynthesis with Calling of Blood, but the result is a failure. The new skill, Blood-Tinted Contract, is not an upgrade and loses its best abilities. Not giving up, he buys Calling of Blood again and combines it with the failed Blood-Tinted Contract. This time, it is a huge success, creating a B-rank skill called Truth Seeker of Blood. When he tests it, he discovers it not only drains health, stamina, and mana from blood, but also gives him the power to control blood freely, shaping it into any form he desires. He then upgrades his Eyes of the Truth skill, which transforms into the A+ rank Flame Dragon Eye. This new eye power allows him to see hidden information about his equipment. He learns his coat can create a temporary blood shield and his boots have increased acceleration. Most importantly, he discovers a hidden power within his sword, the Heavenly Blood Demonic Sword. It has an ultimate ability called Sword Flame, which he realizes is the same devastating power Namgun Hyuk used. With his new skills and knowledge, he begins the 11th floor trial. The theme is mentality verification, and he must clear 7 trials to pass. He is transported to the Temple of Verification, where a godlike figure explains that he must prove his body, faith, and mentality. The first trial begins. A priest explains that to advance, he must either kill or persuade the priest in each room. The main character faces the first priest, Johan, and without hesitation, uses his new Truth Seeker of Blood skill to defeat him instantly, absorbing his spirit. This impressive and brutal victory catches the attention of several powerful administrators who are watching from afar. After the fight, he picks up an item the priest dropped, a mirror. Using his Flame Dragon Eye, he sees it can create a one-time divine barrier but also has a mysterious hidden message about proving one's fate. Confused but undeterred, he proceeds to the next room, hoping for another simple fight. There, he meets the second priestess, a woman named Jane. She quickly threw a chair at him. Seeing her violent approach, he correctly guessed that this is another trial of the body. He easily dodged the attack and counterattacked with a perfect sword aura, severely injuring her with just a single strike. She was surprised that a mere explorer could wield a complete sword aura without any divine power. Quickly, she healed herself and attacked again. However, once more, he blocked her attack and began asking questions like how many of these bodily trials existed. When he asked, she became furious. He was too relaxed and didn't seem to be taking her seriously. Enraged, she launched another attack. Activating instant acceleration, he pinned her against the wall, trapping her. Her sword was separated from her as she struggled. Pushed against the wall, he began questioning her simply because he wanted to. Before she could respond, she demanded to know if he was going to make a move. The administrators, curious as well, watched intently. The iron-blooded monarch was truly inquisitive, but he replied that he had no such intentions and the administrators trusted him, agreeing with his statement. He then questioned her, asking why anyone would come here to do something like that in trials. She explained that it wasn't particularly rare. He learned that there were 4 bodily trials, 2 trials of faith, and the final one was mental. He had already completed the 2 bodily trials. She suggested he give up before attempting the final mental trial, warning that no one had ever passed the 7th trial. Everyone who entered either went insane or died, bleeding from every pore. To be certain, he used the Flame Dragon Eye to detect any lies, and there were none. Thinking she was afraid of being killed, he asked if there was a way to proceed without taking her life. It turned out there wasn't, so he killed her and absorbed her spirit, increasing his proficiency by 8.8%. Then he proceeded to the next verification. The next test was Lucilian, the future sword of the god of verification. Its purpose was to test his martial arts and determine if he was worthy. The battle began. Lucilian also wielded sword aura, so he had to fight with everything he had. The old man's attacks were less precise than Sun Yun's, yet Sun Yun's sword Ki suffered damage. The old man explained, no matter how strong his sword or eyes, the only ones who can destroy him are those who can handle that which cannot be seen. To Sung Yun, it was like a less capable person outperforming him on a test. Determined to prevail, he engaged the old man again, aiming to destroy his sword Qi. After some time, he mastered the technique. The old man, heavily injured, was pleased that Sung Yun had learned it so quickly, achieving perfection unlike his own unstable skill. Sung Yun, on the other hand, quickly killed the old man to end his suffering and proceed to the next verification. Absorbing the old man's spirit, his proficiency increased by 14%. With this, his necromancy proficiency reached 100%, and his necromancy level rose from C to B. He is thrilled to check the skill's new abilities. To his surprise, he discovers a powerful new effect. When he absorbs the spirit of a stronger opponent, he can now extract one of their special authorities. He's amazed by how powerful the skill is, even at B rank. Afterward, a series of notifications confirm that absorbing the spirits of the first 3 priests has permanently increased all of his stats, pushing them closer to the 100-point mark. He also absorbs one of the priest's A-rank skills, Indomitable Will, which boosts his power when fighting stronger enemies. He then enters the 4th trial room and finds it empty. Suddenly, a powerful priest with golden light and wings named Chiron appears from upside. The watching administrators send urgent warnings, telling Sung Yun to be careful because Chiron is incredibly strong and uses real sword Ki. Without wasting words, Chiron begins the trial. His power is so immense that Sung Yun's new Indomitable Will skill activates immediately. The battle is intense. Chiron attacks with rays of light that reflect off mirrors scattered around the room, making them almost impossible to dodge. Sung Yun uses his Flame Dragon Eye to analyze the attacks and realizes he must get close to Chiron to win. However, Chiron's fighting style is flawless. He attacks from a distance, uses his wings to unbalance Sung Yun, and finishes with powerful sword flame attacks. The administrators watch nervously, with one even wondering how Sung Yun is planning to die. Seeing an opening, Chiron gathers all his energy for a final, massive blast of light. But Sun Yun was prepared. Just as the attack is launched, his counter-shield skill, which has been absorbing damage throughout the fight, becomes fully charged. He unleashes all the stored energy in a single, massive beam, overpowering Chiron's attack and defeating him. The injured Chiron is shocked, wondering if Sung Yun possesses a god's authority. He declares that Sung Yun has passed the trials of the body and is qualified. As Chiron fades, Sun Yun absorbs his spirit. Because Chiron was so powerful, Sun Yun successfully extracts his authority, gaining a new power called Divine Power. The administrators are stunned to see this, noting that the power is located in his energy core but has no trace of a god's influence. Sung Yun also receives a massive boost to all his stats. Finally, he enters the next room, where an old priestess waits. This trial, she explains, is not about the body, but about faith. She speaks of his endless desire to win and become the most powerful. Suddenly, she gets closer when he tries to attack, and she dodges, explaining, "It isn't a body verification." He looks around in shock to see himself surrounded by shadowy figures and realizes with horror that the priestess has invaded his mind. As the trial begins, the old priestess, Hanir, invades Han Sung-yoon's mind. He finds himself unable to control his body, surrounded by shadowy figures. However, the illusion suddenly shatters. Hanir calmly tells him he has passed the 5th trial. Sung-yoon is confused, but she explains that the trial was a test of will. She could feel his overwhelmingly powerful and violent desire to get stronger at any cost, which was enough to qualify him. She then offers her life to him, but Sung-yoon refuses, seeing no reason to kill someone when he has already passed. Surprised by his answer, Hanir sends him on his way with her blessing. As he walks to the next stage, he is suddenly pulled into a dark, watery void. A mysterious and alluring woman named Eileen appears, explaining that this is the 6th trial, the realm of the mind. She reveals that Hanir planted a seed in him to bring him here and that she is now guarding his physical body. To pass, Sung-yoon must look into his own mind realm, the essence of his beliefs and faith. The trial begins, and Sung-yoon is immediately overwhelmed by the realistic sensation of drowning. The pain is intense, but he activates his serene mind authority to calm himself and fight back against the mental attack. Eileen is impressed by his resilience. She then reveals a shocking truth. While only a minute has passed for him, 2 hours have gone by in the real world. With only 7 days to complete all the trials, he realizes he is in grave danger of failing due to the time limit. In a desperate move, Sung-yoon focuses his calm mind and successfully activates his Flame Dragon Eye skill within the mental realm. The dark void instantly transforms, revealing his true mind realm, a vast and terrifying ocean of blood. Eileen is horrified, questioning if he is even human and pointing to the wings of steel on his back. Unleashing his Wings of Steel authority, Sung-yoon unleashes a massive burst of power that completely shatters the mental world. He wakes up in the physical trial room, which is now in ruins from the backlash of his power. Eileen explains that he passed the trial by facing the darkness within himself, his mind realm, and choosing to overcome it to become stronger without losing his humanity. Bidding him farewell, she tells him that sometimes being true to one's desires is the right path. Finally, Sung-yoon arrives at the 7th and final trial. He stands before a swirling cosmic vortex as a message announces that the god of verification is watching. In the sky, he sees massive eyes, and yes, it was the god of verification. As Han Sung-yoon stands before the cosmic vortex, the sheer presence of the god of verification is overwhelming. Just its gaze makes his body want to shut down and give up. Despite the immense pressure and a crushing feeling of helplessness, Sung-yoon refuses to surrender. Screaming in defiance, he activates his Ashen Blood skill to endure the pain and musters all his strength to launch an attack at the god's giant eye, determined to fight back no matter the odds. However, the attack was useless. Just as he is about to pass out, system messages flood his vision. The god of verification is impressed by his unbreakable spirit and grit. Acknowledging him as a worthy challenger, the god announces the beginning of the 7th and final trial before disappearing. The trial begins as a large mirror materializes. Sung-yoon is told that he will be synchronized with his future self to verify that his beliefs and will remain unchanged over time. He is then pulled into the mirror and finds himself in a city in what looks like a future Korea. He sees his future self standing and, to his horror, watches this version of himself unleash a gruesome massacre on innocent people. As he witnesses the atrocity, Sung-yoon feels a sharp, tearing pain. A system message explains that the assimilation rate between him and his future self is forcibly increasing. He is flooded with the twisted emotions of his future counterpart, guilt, rage, and madness. To make matters worse, all of his mental protection skills, including Serene Mind, are sealed, leaving him completely vulnerable to psychological assault. The shock causes him to suffer from chi deviation, a dangerous condition where his own mana circuit begins to overheat and break down. Through the forced connection, he experiences his future self's life as a ruthless killer known as the Sword Ghost. He watches in disgust as his future self conquers the Murim dimension, callously murdering the leader of the Murim Alliance and then slaughtering the very people he had promised to spare, referring to them as nothing more than combat resources. The visions continue, showing him becoming a crazy monster, who conquers entire dimensions and kills thousands without remorse. With each horrific act he witnesses, the assimilation rate climbs higher, reaching 50%. Sun Yun is in agony, but a terrifying new feeling begins to emerge. To his absolute shock, he starts to feel a sick, twisted pleasure from the power and carnage, realizing with horror that he is slowly beginning to enjoy becoming the monster in the mirror. In the next scene, in a glowing, massive building, Kim comes breaking the door with Haeon and confronts Sun Yun, asking if he really thought he could get away with his past actions. Haeon is furious, demanding to know why Sun Yun is willing to kill people just to become stronger. Sun Yun smirks, saying it is a useless question because killing others helps his progress. This makes Kim angry, says he can control lightning and, with the stormy weather, tells Sun Yun to prepare to die. Just as the fight begins, Sun Yun ends it without a sweat splitting Kim in half. On the other side, the real one was pulled by the blood river, trying not to make any mistake, or he will be eaten by the future mind of himself. Just 50% of the Psycho Nagi Shin is making him feel like his mind is splitting, and then it increased to 60%. Now, he couldn't even stand anymore. Then 70%. Now the situation was critical. He couldn't even differentiate between the pain and pleasure. His future self comes from behind, telling him to accept that he is him. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, he remembers. The High Priest's mirror filled with divinity. He got the first verification room. As he used the mirror, it created a divine barrier protecting him to get rid of all mental corruption. Suddenly, his future self stops and he comes out of him, screaming he won't be let himself swallowed. And just like that, he successfully overcomes the ordeal, earning a new accomplishment, Mind of Steel, and an increase in his stamina. The system announces that the verification of the mind has ended. His both administrators express their relief that their contractor, Sung Yun, is safe. A new entity, the God of Verification, declares its satisfaction with Sung Yun's performance and forcibly summons him to the Divine Region, a place hidden from the administrators. Sun Yun finds himself in a realm of pure light, face to face with a radiant being. This is the God of Verification. The god seems surprised to see him and asks if he is a divinity copy, created by the Tower, which is another name for an administrator. Sun Yun clarifies that he is simply a challenger. The god realizes Sun Yun is different because he possesses a divine power that is uniquely his own. It muses that the Tower must be trying to create a real one through him rather than using its usual divinity copies. The god declares that Han Sung-yun is no ordinary being. Sung-yun is confused, believing he only obtained his divine power by chance after killing a being named Chiron. The god corrects him, explaining that it was no coincidence. He reveals that Sung-yun perfectly extracted a divine power that the god himself had once bestowed upon his followers. The god senses a clear cause and effect at play and mentions that the Tower has very high expectations for Sung-yun. Realizing it has said too much and angered the Tower, the god begins to fade away. Before leaving, it warns Sun-yun that looking too deeply into his future self is dangerous because the void will look back and try to corrupt his mind. As a final piece of advice, the god tells Sun-yun not to trust the other gods because they will now consider him their enemy. Sun-jun is returned to the Tower lobby, where he receives his rewards for clearing the 11th floor. He tries to process everything he has learned. He now understands that the Tower likely orchestrated his acquisition of divine power. He is left wondering what its ultimate goal is and why it has such high expectations for him. The god's words echo in his mind. Administrators are divinity copies. The Tower wants to make a real one, and he cannot trust the other gods. As he contemplates this, the system announces major changes. Earth is now registered as an official dimension in the Tower of Trials, granting it protection. The administrators can now see him again. The iron-blooded monarch and the white crane swordmaster appear, relieved to see him safe. But Sung-yun is now filled with suspicion, remembering that administrators are also a form of divinity. As he enters the world of Iron Blood, he attacks Iron-blooded monarch, asking if they are with the Towers to use him. She dodges it but believes that he is still being controlled by the verification of the mind. Sung-yun, still under the influence of his recent trial, accuses the administrators and the Tower of conspiring to exploit challengers. He shockingly cuts his own arm to use his blood and attack. The iron-blooded monarch tries to reason with him, but Sung-yun is convinced he is thinking clearly and attacks with a powerful sword strike. She does do it, however, that Shash ended up cutting her house, which made her really furious. She summoned a lot of swords in the air to attack him. But when he tried to dodge, she appeared from behind and smashed his face on the ground. He was still not stopping, so she dragged him with those swords she summoned in the air. After some time, Sung-yun came to his senses. Now he wanted to be released. She actually tied him and hung him on top. Sitting in the chair, she believes she is really worried. Although she is going to untie him, she is really worried that the next time he comes to his house, he's going to have an out period. She explained that in the time when he was trying to show that he is in the right mind, showed the remnants of diabetes that hadn't been completely removed from his mind yet, but she also knows that his suspicion on the administrator was probably not completely fake either, so she makes it clear that nobody can read the intention of the Tober. That goes for the administrator still. With a sword slash, she unties him, cuts his rope, and began explaining that from what she knows, the Tower has never shown its will to a challenger. So the fact that the Tower expects something special from one challenger makes no sense. But seeing his doubt, it means he heard something from someone. Sung-yun, in front of her, explains that the verification of God spoke as if the tower was expecting something from him, so now the iron-bladed monarch knows, but she still doesn't change her statement that she still doesn't know anything. She then, out of nowhere, explains that she could have prepared a special tea from him, which she made from the urine of the black dragon. When he asks about the divine divinity, she still can't talk about it, but he states that he is eventually going to find out. One last thing he wanted to ask was why she never told him about her earnest wish, which the White Crane Swordmaster explained can be fulfilled through a disciple. She confesses that she was afraid. She saw how much Sunyon underestimated himself while simultaneously being obsessed with getting stronger, and she feared he would recklessly chase her trial just for the sake of power. Sunyon admits this is true, but says he has no choice because he believes he has no talent. The monarch is surprised to hear this and tells him he will soon realize how much he is underestimating himself, because the 12th floor trial is a fight against himself. Later, alone, Sunyon thinks about talent, which he defines by the hunter's 3 gifts: skill acquisition, stat increase, and trait enlightenment. He believes he was born with none of them, and that even the tower cannot change this fundamental truth. As the trial is about to begin, Sunyon prepares. He uses 3 skill proficiency increasing potions to boost his magic management skill. He then examines his reward from the 11th floor, the old mirror of verification. The mirror has a special, one-time use effect that allows him to acquire a skill from the remaining thoughts within it. Activating the mirror, he inherits a new skill called Fighting Concentration A+, and its proficiency is immediately increased by 11% from the experience stored in the mirror. Finally, the 12th floor trial, Surpassing Limits, begins. The objective is to defeat a perfect duplicate of himself within 48 hours. A system message explains that a guardian is being created, copying everything about him, including his equipment, his experiences, and all his strategies. The iron-blooded monarch had warned that the duplicate even copies his talent. A notification window appears, explaining that a guardian fighter is being created to deal with an intruder. This replica will be a copy of the intruder himself. He looks annoyed, wondering why he keeps getting involved with gods, but is also intrigued by this eerily similar replica of himself. He remembers advice he received from the iron-blooded monarch and information from a question voucher he used. Sung-yoon observes that the replica chose to copy a defensive item. He sees this as a good chance to test his own abilities. He activates several skills at once: instant acceleration and wind's grace, which boosts his speed by 70%. He then activates fighting concentration, doubling his focus. He decides to use this fight to confirm his own talent. With his concentration heightened, time seems to slow down around him. He then activates his burning sword intent power and attacks the clone, but the clone blocks it with iron-blooded sword technique. He fully expects the replica to use the counter shield, a basic defensive move to pair with the iron-blooded sword. But to his complete shock, the replica transforms the red energy of the shield into a second sword. The main character is stunned, realizing his clone is about to use dual swords. He can't believe it. The replica is using dual sword arts, something he himself has never attempted in a real battle. He knows that transforming the counter shield takes a lot of mana and mental power, which is why he has always considered it an inefficient method. He wonders why the replica would choose such a costly strategy and questions if it thinks this is just a practice match. They charge at each other, their swords clashing in a blur of red and blue light. The main character is immediately pushed back, realizing with a bit of shock that in terms of pure sword skill, he is actually losing. He quickly figures out why. The replica is using the Indomitable Will skill, which boosts its abilities when facing a stronger foe. Since the main character has superior items, the system considers him stronger, activating the skill for the replica. He also deduces that the replica's fighting concentration skill is maxed out, allowing it to achieve a state of transcendental focus. But the biggest shock is the swordsmanship the replica is using. He watches as the replica unleashes a devastating attack called the Blue Heaven Sword Dragon. He instantly recognizes the technique. It's the swordsmanship of Nam Gung Hyuk. He only met Nam Gung Hyuk once, but he vividly remembers the man's terrifyingly pure technique, which seemed to surpass the system's skills entirely. Because it wasn't a skill, he had believed it was impossible for him to learn. He then recalls the iron-blooded monarch telling him that he underestimates his own true talent. He now understands what that meant. As this realization dawns on him, the system declares that he is now at a disadvantage, and his own indomitable will skill activates. He is stunned that the system judges him as weaker even with his better equipment. In response, his fighting concentration skill greatly activates, multiplying his focus by 10 times. Even with his power boosted, the replica is a monster. The main character is pushed back again, amazed at his clone's strength. His concentration continues to climb, reaching 15 times its normal level with the help of fighting concentration skill. Deciding to change tactics, he activates his Wings of Steel. He flies at maximum speed, circling behind the replica. As his concentration hits 17 times, he successfully was about to got the clone, thinking he has won. However, the replica instantly sacrifices its own arm, causing it to explode. Taking advantage of the smoke, the clone disappears. Sunyeon's vision is temporarily whited out from the blast, leaving him vulnerable. Sensing an incoming fatal blow, Sunyeon believes he is about to die. In that critical moment, his concentration surges to its absolute limit, 20 times the normal level, so he was able to dodge the attack. A system message announces he has entered a state that surpasses limits. Time seems to stop as a powerful blue aura erupts from his body. When the moment passes, he is left standing, looking exhausted. "I feel like shit," he mutters. He looks at his replica and admits to himself that he really almost died. His expression then shifts to one of pure rage. "A mere duplicate," he snarls, his eyes glowing red, dares to keep messing around. A final notification warns him that as a side effect of surpassing his limits, he will now experience a large mental recoil. Before anything could happen, the clone attacked again. Sungyun wasn't able to dodge. Got injured, but instead uses his blood to attack through blood spikes. He thought he got the clone, but the clone was already behind him. They both again clash and make some distance. Sungyun admitted that the replica is stupidly strong. Meanwhile, in a completely different, snow-covered location, the iron-blooded monarch sits on a throne. She was watching the fight from afar. Feeling awkward about the situation, she decides she can't just stand by and watch. She attempts to send a message to Sungyun, but a system window pops up and blocks her. The system states that her ability to send advice has been temporarily deactivated, sarcastically suggesting she should let her contractor have his cup of tea. Back in the fight, Sungyun suddenly clutches his head and punches himself. It was the future personality of himself fighting for control. Sungyun angrily tells him to stop interfering and stay down. He is furious, screaming internally that he thought he was done with this annoying future me after a previous trial. In a mental landscape, the future him appears. He scolds him for being ungrateful after he just stepped in to save his life. When the original demands his body back, the future self calls him a pathetic bastard, telling him that after all his training, he still can't properly understand his own abilities. He tells him to watch carefully and learn. Sungyun tries to charge at his future self, but is stopped by red blood spikes that erupt from the ground. The future self calls him frustrating and explains that he can't use real techniques because he is too reliant on his skills. He tells him to stay down and watch. The future self, now in full control of the body, declares, "I'll control this body from now on." He seems to be getting used to the situation, then suddenly a blue window appears. The administrator Iron-Blooded Monarch has sent him an item, a product of Black Dragon, a special potion that boosts mental power and clears the mind. He looks surprised by this intervention. Just then, Sungyun takes over the control again. He just has to drink that potion and he'll be fine, but when he tries, the replica cuts his hand. With the bottle in the sky, he lunges and dude bites the whole bottle. Having consumed the potion, Sungyun is now incredibly calm and fluid. His future self isn't going to interfere anymore. "I'm back," he says with a small laugh. He realizes that while his future him was fighting, he was able to feel something crucial, what it was like to let go of his complete reliance on skills. With newfound determination, he declares that if his replica can fight like that, then so can he. His concentration skyrockets to its maximum level once again. He feels his mind accelerate, and in a moment that seems to last forever, he has a profound realization. He understands that he needs to throw away his dependence on the skills he has collected. He must empty his mind of common sense and stubbornness. As he reaches this state of clarity, system messages appear one after another. His magic management proficiency increases, and he acquires the achievements of enlightenment and trance, which permanently boost his stamina and mana. The system then deactivates his indomitable will skill, indicating that he is no longer at a disadvantage. In a flash of light, Sungyun is moving at incredible speeds, using skills Wind's Grace and Instant Acceleration. He reflects on how strange it feels to wield the powerful sword skills of Namgung Hyuk. As he fights the replica, he begins to have a realization. He is starting to see beyond the skills and understand the core principles of the technique itself. He notices that the replica isn't perfectly using the sword skills, but is merely imitating Namgung Hyuk. This imitation creates a weakness, as any doubt can weaken the power of its sword flame. Figuring this out, Sungyun activates his own authority, Iron-Blooded Sword. He decides that while he practices Namgung Hyuk's style, he must focus on strengthening his own sword flame. Skill, Truth Seeker of Blood, activates. The battle continues, and a replica suddenly switches tactics from an aggressive style to a flowing, mellow sword technique, another one of Namgung Hyuk's skills. Sungyun is annoyed at how perfectly the replica can copy him, but prepares for the danger. He activates Countersword, surprising his opponent. Confidently, he tells the replica, "Whatever you can do, I can too." In the fight, he notices the replica's sword recharges faster, so he decides to take a risk. The replica uses a powerful countersword attack. Sungyun met the attack head-on, but his countersword broke. He knew this would happen. He understands the replica's thinking because it is a copy of him. He knows it will see the moment after the big attack as an opportunity to strike. Just as the replica swings its massive sword down, Sungyun says, "Gotcha," and with his blood-controlling ability, he grabbed his iron-blooded sword and stabs the replica from behind. Sungyun explains that his plan worked. He used the replica's impatience and the fact that he had seemingly discarded his iron-blooded sword to set a trap. As he prepares for the finale, the replica's body begins to twist and distort in horror. In a terrifying moment, it transforms into a monstrous creature. Sun Yun is on the defensive now, struggling to keep up with the monster's wild and unpredictable attacks. He is baffled by how much its fighting style has changed. The two clash in a massive explosion of power. Afterward, the monster growls, and Sun Yun sees that his counter-shield skill has finished its cooldown, so he again turns it into a countersword. He confidently taunts the creature, saying, "What you doing? Come at me!" He identifies the monster's new ability as Body Explosion, which is powerful in close-range fights. However, he also knows that because of a skill called Ashen Blood, the monster's rampage will quickly drain its stamina. And yes, it went out of stamina pretty soon. Realizing there is no reason to drag the fight on any longer, Sun Yun decides to end it. He chases the replica, but then replica attack with a huge blood spike. He blocked the powerful blow. Looking at the raw power of the creature, he thinks that, thanks to its strong attacks, his counter shield is now fully charged with absorbed damage. A system window confirms his skill is ready to reflect all the power it has taken. As the monster roars, Sun Yun prepares to unleash his final attack, shouting, "Die!" He releases all the stored energy from the counter shield, creating a huge explosion that completely destroys the monster. Immediately after the battle, a flood of system messages appears. He is congratulated for completing the 12th floor of the Tower of Trials and receives several rewards, including an item called the Ancient Emperor's Ash Crown, 80,000 points, 3,500 SP, and a new skill called Last Stand. Another message informs him that his counter shield skill has leveled up. The victory comes at a price. Sun Yun suddenly feels a painful rebound as his fighting concentration skill deactivates, and he violently coughs up blood. Thankfully, his Ashen Blood skill activates, healing the damage. He smiles weakly, thinking that he would not have survived without such a powerful healing ability. He wonders if he will ever be able to climb the tower peacefully. He then notices the monster's remains have formed a swirling red spirit, which he finds interesting. Suddenly, system messages from the Iron-Blooded Monarch, which were previously blocked, begin to appear. She complains about getting in trouble for helping him because she sent him that potion called Product of Black Dragon. The main character realizes that admins get sanctioned if they help a challenger too much. Then, dozens of messages from other admins appear all at once. Some are amazed by his power, calling him a monster. Others are annoyed or in disbelief at his rapid progress. He is confused why so many admins are contacting him now, especially since he already has a contract with the Iron-Blooded Monarch. He suspects that a recent system expansion now allows other admins to make requests to him. To test his theory, he speaks to the admins directly through the system. He tells them that just sending messages is not enough, and that he will remember anyone who sponsors him with a new authority. Some admins are offended by his bold request, but he confidently adds that he will only accept offers from the first 3 people. His gamble works. Instantly, 3 admins agree to add an authority to his exclusive store. Satisfied, the main character turns his attention to the last remaining task, absorbing the spirit of his defeated replica. He wonders what he will gain from absorbing the spirit of an enemy that was an exact copy of himself. As he absorbs the spirit, a system message appears, stating that because the spirit's soul is a perfect match to his own, the conditions have been met to activate the Divine Power Authority. The system then announces it is attempting to extract divinity. The main character is left confused, wondering what it means to extract divinity. Sun Yun then receives a flood of notifications. His proficiency increases by 28%, and all his stats, strength, agility, stamina, magic power, and durability are permanently boosted by 10 points each. He also acquires the Lightning Sword Chi skill, and since he already has it, the skill's proficiency maxes out and levels up. Just as he is processing this, the system repeats the message that the Divine Power Authority is being activated because his soul perfectly matches the replica's. A successful divinity extraction occurs, leveling up his Divine Power Authority. He is confused by terms like divinity transformation and myth accumulation, but realizes he might finally be able to use this power he had previously neglected. Upon entering the 13th floor waiting room, another major system update begins. The game's communities, which were once separated by country, are now merged globally. This means he will encounter foreign challengers in future trials. He understands that this is the first step toward the Earth's dimension being merged with much older and more powerful dimensions like Ares, Kalian, and Miram. Knowing that Earth is currently the weakest, he feels a renewed determination to become overwhelmingly strong. He then checks the rewards from the last trial. The first is the Ancient Emperor's Ash Crown, a high-grade item that can make him a Spirit King, though its description is a bit vague. The second reward is a skill called Last Stand, which can nullify a life-threatening wound once a week. He recognizes it as an incredibly valuable survival skill. Next, he reviews the 3 authorities he pressured the admins into giving him. He decides to purchase all 3 for 3,000 SP each: Heavenly Blood, Cultivation Art, Hero's Blessing, and Rabid Magic Recharge. The admins immediately send messages reminding him of their support, which he casually dismisses. Remembering the divinity extraction, he tries to use his new divine power, but nothing happens, so he just pretends to be cool, saying he can feel a new energy in his heart, but when he tries to use it, his body just glows. He gets frustrated when he cannot replicate any of the healing or buffing skills he saw the priests use on the 11th floor. His frustration attracts the attention of the admin, White Crane Swordmaster, who eagerly offers to teach him how to use the power, believing she's a better teacher than the Iron-Blooded Monarch she invites him. Annoyed, he flatly rejects her help, making her cry, preferring to figure things out on his own. He decides to focus on what he can control and get stronger for his inevitable rematch with Namgung Hyuk. He activates the Heavenly Blood Cultivation Art. The power surges through him, making him feel like he was born for combat. However, this new power has an unexpected and dangerous side effect. It manifests his darker, future, crueler personality as a separate entity sharing his body. This dark version, laughing maniacally, immediately attacks him, screaming, "Die, you fucking pushover!" As they fight within their own body with one in one hand, the dark half declares he is getting rid of the main personality for good. In the middle of this desperate struggle, Sunyeon has a sudden realization. His sword is absorbing the blood ki being generated by the cultivation art. He recalls that his sword has a hidden feature, an ultimate skill that unlocks when a user with sword flame maximizes their blood ki. Seeing an opportunity, he decides to pour all the blood ki into his dark half by stabbing himself, overloading him and the sword at the same time. The plan works. The sword glows intensely as it absorbs the power, and a system message announces its true powers have been unlocked. Its name changes to True Heavenly Blood Demonic Sword, Level A, rank weapon, and a new blood consumption exclusive slot is created, leaving him to wonder what this new power is. He activates his Flame Dragon Eye skill to inspect it and is thrilled by what he finds. The sword now has an exclusive ability called Blood Consumption. When he kills an enemy with the sword, it will absorb their blood, increasing its own power and engraving one of their skills onto the blade. He can store up to 3 skills this way, making it an incredible growth-type weapon. Just as he is celebrating this jackpot, the 13th floor trial begins. It is a hard difficulty team-based strategic battle. The goal is to cooperate with his teammates to kill the powerful vampire count within 14 days. The reward is a rare A+ rank skill book, but failure means death. Sunyeon is annoyed at having to do another team trial, but the reward makes it a little better. He is assigned his teammates, and he immediately recognizes their nicknames from the high-ranker leaderboards. He is teamed up with Tarkovsky, the legendary ninja, and the Clock Tower Wizard. The group is transported directly into a vampire banquet hall, and the fight begins instantly. After they quickly deal with the initial wave of vampires, introductions are made. The Russian man is Andrei Tarkovsky, the head of the world's largest guild. The ninja is Mishimoto Sachio, Japan's only S-rank hunter. The old wizard is David Taylor, a famous and powerful mage from the Clock Tower. Compared to these legends, Sunyeon simply introduces himself as a C-rank hunter from Korea. The team begins to plan their strategy. Tarkovsky explains that the vampire count is a powerful, regenerating S-rank enemy, and the best way to defeat him is to rescue hidden clerics in the city to help them. Sachio agrees to use his stealth skills to scout, while David will use barriers to keep the team hidden. Everyone agrees this is the most logical plan, except for Sunyeon. He interrupts, confidently stating that their method is inefficient and that he has a better one. Annoyed, Sachio sarcastically asks what this amazing plan is. Sunyeon's plan is simple: shut the fuck up and charge. Before anyone can react, he breaks David's barrier and charges headfirst into the massive horde of vampires waiting outside. His teammates are furious, thinking he is a suicidal maniac who has ruined their stealthy approach. As the vampires swarm Sunyeon, his teammates prepare to retreat, writing him off as a lost cause. But then Sunyeon was surprised that the vampires have blood-controlling ability like him, duh. Then he unleashes his full power. He activates True Seeker of Blood, and a storm of blood erupts around him, tearing the vampires to pieces. The vampires are horrified, unable to understand how a human can possess a blood domination ability far stronger than their own. They cry out that he is a monster as he effortlessly slaughters them. His teammates can only watch in complete shock. Their carefully crafted, perfect strategy is completely overshadowed by one person's overwhelming power. David, the wise old wizard, stares at the unbelievable scene and has a moment of profound self-doubt, wondering to himself, "Is it that I'm just weak?" While Sunyeon effortlessly tears through hordes of vampires, his teammates watch in disbelief. Tarkovsky and Sachio can only wonder if he is even human. David, still trying to make sense of the situation, admits that Sunyeon is ridiculously strong. However, he remains skeptical, telling the others that an entire city of vampires is too much for one person. He explains that party hunting became the standard because no matter how strong a single person is, they cannot handle all the unpredictable variables of a massive battle alone. The scene cuts back to Sunyeon, who is proving David's point. He is swarmed by vampires and takes some hits, and then was caught by them, but he used his body explosion, and with the explosion's blood killed them all, and his Ashen Blood skill heals him. He knows that this direct approach is costly, and forces him to use up his healing items. Meanwhile, the vampires are in a panic. They cannot understand how a human is interfering with their divine authority over blood. They become convinced that he must be a disciple, sent by the gods of humanity as punishment. Sunyeon just scoffs at their delusions, calling them weak bastards. One of the lead vampires notices Sunyeon breathing heavily and thinks he is finally getting tired. He rallies the other vampires for a final push. But this was all a trick. Sunyeon reveals a handful of glowing red orbs. They are the souls of the vampire he just killed and, to the vampire's horror, eats them. He mockingly tells them that he is eating your comrades. System notifications pop up, confirming that he is using the spirits of the slain vampires to completely restore his stamina and mana. With a menacing grin, a fully recovered Sun Yun announces, "Let's start round 2," and dives back into the fight, terrifying the remaining vampires. Watching from a safe distance, his teammates are speechless. Tarkovsky remarks that not only is Sun Yun not tired, but he actually seems to be getting stronger. Sachio agrees, deciding that they should stop worrying and just help him. Sun Yun is indeed getting stronger. He uses the massive number of spirits he has collected to permanently boost his stats, noting that the growth is even better than when he absorbed his replica. This incredible display of power also impresses the many admins watching him, which was part of his plan all along. His teammates finally return, having given up on their original plan. They apologize for doubting him and pledge to follow his orders from now on. Just as Sun Yun is about to speak, his sixth sense skill flares up, warning him of immense danger. A massive citywide magic attack is forming. The vampire count has finally appeared. Looking at the powerful hunters he once admired, Sun Yun realizes that the roles have reversed. Now, he must be the one to protect them. He orders them to run, find the clerics, and bring them back. He frankly tells them that in a fight of this level, they would only get in his way. He also explains that he needs to defeat the Count alone to absorb its spirit. Though reluctant to be treated like luggage, the team agrees and leaves. Alone, Sun Yun prepares to face the Count. He activates Fighting Concentration and the Heavenly Blood Cultivation art, then unleashes the full power of Truth Seeker of Blood to challenge the Count's control over the city. From his throne, the vampire Count is enraged that a pathetic human dares to resist him. He decides to stop holding back and unleashes his ultimate attack, intending to turn the entire city into a sea of hellish blood. Sun Yun looked up at the impossibly huge wave of blood magic about to crash down on him. With a stressed-out laugh, he thinks to himself, "I'm fucked," and indeed he is. But before anything, we see the past of the vampire Count, Selnir. He has been a warrior his entire life, driven by a thirst for battle that eventually led him to be chosen as a prospective disciple by the god of battle. The ultimate goal of the vampires was to destroy the 4 great human nations. Having already destroyed 3, Selnir's final task was to conquer the last one, which would earn him the title of true disciple and make him the king of the vampires. In the present, a panicked subordinate rushes in to tell the Count that his forces are being massacred by a single human who appeared out of nowhere. Furious that his grand plans are being ruined by a pathetic human, Selnir unleashes his full power, intending to destroy the entire city in a massive wave of blood. Facing this overwhelming attack, Sun Yun has a moment of clarity. Realizing he cannot save the city, he decides to focus on saving his teammates. He uses a powerful defensive barrier to push through the deadly wave, taking the full force of the blast to shield his friends, but the shield breaks. Later we find him lying. He wasn't injured or anything, and teammates are also safe. The city is left in ruins, but the team is safe. The vampire Count appears, surprised that they survived. He arrogantly dismisses them as insects and vows to rip them to shreds. Sun Yun tells his team to step back, declaring that he will face the Count himself. The Count tries to attack the retreating members. He was trying to ignore Sun Yun but couldn't due to his coolness, and Sun Yun instantly blocked the attack. In a flash, Sun Yun lands a devastating blow that completely destroys the Count's upper body. His teammates are shocked, thinking the fight is already over. But Sun Yun knows better. He tells them to hurry and find the clerics because something is wrong. Using his flame dragon eye, he sees the Count's scattered body parts beginning to regenerate. He explains to his team that he must be the one to kill the boss to absorb its spirit, so they must find the clerics or any holy relics that can stop the regeneration. The Count reforms, enraged. He boasts that while Sun Yun may be better in pure combat, his own regeneration and blood manipulation skills are far superior. As they fight, Sun Yun continues to slice the Count into pieces, but the vampire's regeneration seems unstoppable. Sun Yun even admits that the Count's blood skills are more advanced, but with a smirk he adds, "Thanks to you, I learned an application skill," revealing that he is learning and adapting in the middle of the fight. Even after cutting the Count into even finer pieces, the regeneration continues. Sun Yun begins to get frustrated, realizing that it might be impossible to kill this enemy without a cleric. But, with the city in ruins, the chances of finding a survivor are almost zero. Annoyed, Sun Yun asks, "I'm curious, how many times do I need to slaughter you before you really die?" The Count, who is starting to feel a deep sense of fear, tries to act tough, boasting that he will become the Vampire King. This begins a brutal and relentless cycle. Sun Yun calmly kills the Count over and over, counting each death out loud. 3rd, 4th, 5th. With each regeneration, the Count's confidence shatters, and his taunts turn into desperate pleas. He cannot understand how Sun Yun is not running out of mana or stamina. After the 8th death, Sun Yun earns the achievement, Artist of the Battlefield. Sun Yun then activates his torture technique skill, and when Count tried to run, Sun Yun cruelly throws the Count's earlier words back at him. "With whose permission? I will not let you go." The Count's will completely breaks. He begs, offers to make a deal, and promises anything Sun Yun wants, but Sun Yun just continues his merciless slaughter. After the 12th death, Sun Yun earns another achievement, Beginning of Lunacy. Finally, the Count gives up completely and pledges his loyalty, but Sung-yoon has had enough and says, "Can you just shut up and die?" He then reveals his true plan. He activates Counter Shield and transforms it into a counter scarecrow. He offers the broken Count a single way to escape the pain. "Until I tell you to stop, hit it." Desperate, the Count attacks the scarecrow repeatedly. In his broken state, he comes to a strange conclusion. This must be a trial from the gods, and Sung-yoon is a divine savior sent to discipline the vampires. Once the scarecrow is fully charged, Sung-yoon calmly says, "Okay, enough." He tells the Count that if he keeps regenerating, he will simply vaporize him so that not a single piece is left. He then unleashes the full power of the counter shield, completely obliterating the vampire Count for good. With the battle won, system messages flood in. Sun-yoon has completed the 13th floor trial and receives his rewards, a random A+ skill book, 90,000 points, and 9,000 SP. He then uses his sword's blood consumption ability on the Count's remains, engraving the strengthened blood skill onto his weapon and making it even more powerful. Next, he absorbs the Count's spirit, gaining a large permanent boost to all his stats. Because the Count was a prospective disciple of a god, the system successfully performs another divinity extraction, leveling up Sun-yoon's divine power authority. He also absorbs the skill Charisma and a new authority called Harvest of Faith. Just then, his teammates return with a large group of rescued civilians. Seeing Sung-yoon as their savior, the people begin to worship him as a hero sent by the gods. Their strong belief activates his new Harvest of Faith authority. Realizing the opportunity, Sung-yoon uses his new charisma skill to amplify their faith. This triggers his divine power and completes a myth, granting him the title Eradicator of Vampires as he is enveloped in a powerful golden aura. He finally understands how this system works. By performing great deeds, he can gather faith from people, which his divine power then converts into powerful, permanent buffs. This first myth grants his divine attacks two new effects: Recovery Impossible and Exorcism, making him the perfect counter to regenerating enemies like vampires. After the power settles, his Harvest of Faith authority deactivates. David Taylor, the old wizard, humbly approaches him and apologizes for underestimating him, which Sung-yoon accepts. But just as the trial seems to be over, a terrifying system message appears. The god of battle has realized that his chosen disciple, the vampire Count, has been killed. The god's immense anger is directed at Sung-yoon, who suddenly collapses in pain. Before the team can react, the land starts to break, revealing a sea of magma, which the system states is the divine domain of the god of battle. The escape portal was there, but the way is destroyed, and the team is in a panic. Sun-yoon throws the David to the portal and other teammates have already left. David thinks to himself that this is what a true hero must look like. Sung-yoon tries to save the people by using his counter shield to make a ground, but it was no use. Their head automatically exploded. The god of battle speaks directly to Sung-yoon through system messages, expressing disgust that a mere mortal possesses divinity and calling him a dog that the tower raised. Despite the crushing pressure, Sung-yoon bravely talks back, warning the god that interfering with the trial is against the tower's rules. Realizing that Sung-yoon is protected by the tower, the god of battle gives a final, chilling threat before letting him go. Safely back in the 14th floor waiting room, Sung-yoon knows he has made a powerful new enemy. Recalling the iron-blooded monarch's warning not to trust the gods, he decides to focus on what he can control, getting stronger. He spends a massive 10,000 SP on a new S-rank authority, Path of the Blade Master. Then he transports himself to a peaceful bamboo forest where he meets his other sponsor, the White Crane Swordmaster. She praises his incredible natural talent, calling him a genius for instinctively learning and even improving upon advanced sword techniques. She says he has the potential to be a grandmaster and offers to teach him everything she knows on one condition: he must formally become her student. Sung-yoon agrees without hesitation. As they prepare to begin the master-student ceremony, she introduces herself properly. She is Baek Seohwa, the 17th lord of her clan and the strongest Murim fighter of the previous generation. Sung-yoon is stunned by her incredible title. As she begins to explain the basics of martial arts, distinguishing between mental arts, internal energy, and bodily arts, physical techniques, Sung-yoon asks a question that makes her freeze. He asks, what if he has one mental art and if it is safe to learn another one? He was just wondering if the heavenly blood cultivation art is a mental art or not. Baek Seohwa's friendly demeanor vanishes instantly. She becomes intensely serious, suspecting that the iron-blooded monarch has broken a promise and taught him a forbidden technique. Saying she cannot trust the monarch, she declares that she must check his body herself. Before Sung-yoon can react, she puts her hand on his six-pack stomach, her eyes glowing with suspicion as she prepares to examine his internal energy. He tries to protest, but she shushes him, and her eyes glow as she concentrates, and our dude is clearly uncomfortable. After a moment, she's confused. She finds no trace of any previously learned mental arts, only pure magic power. When Sun-yoon explained why he said that, she informs the heavenly blood cultivation art is not a mental art, but an authority he received from another admin. Realizing her mistake, a flustered Baek Seohwa quickly lets go and apologizes for her crude methods. She dismisses the mongrel from the blood cult for sponsoring such a lowly technique. She then explains that since he has no prior training, it will be even easier for her to teach him properly. The training begins. Sun-Yun activates Fighting Concentration as Baek Solhwa demonstrates the first move of her White Sword 7 techniques, called White Sword Flashing C. The attack is incredibly fast, seeming to cut space itself. Sun-Yun thinks he can copy it, and to Baek Solhwa's complete shock, he perfectly replicates the advanced technique after seeing it only once. She is utterly speechless. She explains that even geniuses need practice, but Sun-Yun was able to copy her technique instantly, which should be impossible. Her technique is far more complex than the Blue Heaven sword forms used by his rival Namgun Hyuk, as it manipulates space itself. She declares that he is not just a genius of skill, but a genius of intuition, someone who can grasp the very essence of a technique just by seeing it. This means he can learn almost any martial art in a single day, simply by watching and copying. After this revelation, the training intensifies. Sun-Yun learns everything he can from her: fist techniques, movement skills, grappling, and, most importantly, her White Sword 7 techniques. After the lesson, he thanks his new master and prepares to leave. She seems a little sad to see him go so soon, but wishes him well. Back in the waiting room, Sun-Yun reflects on everything he has learned. While he could not master all 7 of the White Sword techniques at his current level, he now has a much stronger foundation. He decides it is time to upgrade his own skills. Using his Path of the Blade Master authority, he begins to create a new, personal skill by combining the Blue Heaven sword forms he copied from Namgung Hyuk with Baek Solhwa's White Sword 7 techniques. His goal is to create a dual-wielding style that incorporates both offense and defense. The authority activates, and a new A-rank skill is born, First Mixed Sword. However, Sun-Yun is a little disappointed with the result. He feels it is still lacking something. He then remembers the A+ random skill book he received as a reward. Hoping to get something useful, he uses it. Thanks to his Hero's Blessing authority, his luck is temporarily boosted and he receives a powerful B+ skill, Blood Spirit Demon Sword. Thinking he can do better, Sun-Yun makes a bold move. He activates his unique authority, Skill Synthesis, to combine his new First Mixed Sword and Blood Spirit Demon Sword skills. With another boost of luck from Hero's Blessing, the synthesis is a great success, creating a powerful new S-rank skill, First Mixed Demon Sword. Just as he is celebrating his new power, the 14th floor trial begins. The theme is Underwater Warfare, a hard difficulty trial where he must hunt all the monsters in a lake within 7 days. He is immediately teleported to a murky, corpse-filled swamp. Standing there, waiting for him, is his rival, Namgung Hyuk. With a menacing grin, Namgung Hyuk asks, "How much longer are you planning on making this young lord wait?" Sun-Yun grins back, activates all his speed-boosting skills and charges forward, ready for their fated rematch. As they clashed, Hyuk looks on in shock as Sun-Yun unleashes a powerful attack with Sword Flame, questioning how he can use Sword Flame. Unfazed, Sun-Yun dashes forward, telling the surprised Hyuk that he is just getting started. Then he kicks Hyuk and throws a triple consecutive hits, completely ripping the rocks behind. Not Hyuk, he's still strong. A system window appears, describing the ability First Mixed Demon Sword, S. This powerful skill enhances his attacks with a demon attribute that deals continuous damage, triples the power of all his swordsmanship, and has a chance to trigger dual consecutive hits, which adds 2 extra attacks with the same power. Sun-Yun has just demonstrated this by landing a small cut on Hyuk's cheek, which starts bleeding more than expected, much to Hyuk's surprise. Hyuk recognizes the techniques as martial arts from Muram and asks why Sun-Yun hid his skills before. Sun-Yun cheekily replies that he did not hide them, he only learned them all yesterday because he was afraid of dying. Hyuk scoffs at the idea of learning martial arts in a single day, but Sun-Yun simply says someone told him he is a genius. He then demonstrates another new swordsmanship. This new technique infuriates Hyuk, who recognizes it as the swordsmanship of the Namgung clan and accuses Sun-Yun of stealing it. Sun-Yun taunts him, saying if he did not want it copied, he should have made his technique less sloppy. While Hyuk is furiousful, he is completely unaware that Sun-Yun is actually copying and learning from him in real time during their fight. Enraged, Hyuk activates his unique trait, Forceful Battle. This creates a 30-meter purple domain where only the two of them can fight, trapping Sun-Yun inside. Believing he has won, Hyuk growls, "I got you." However, Sun-Yun remains calm and calls the situation a disaster you called upon yourself. He unleashes a powerful attack with his blood that overwhelms the domain. Hyuk cries out in pain and even has to forcibly cancel his Forceful Battle. The domain shatters, but a tired Hyuk could land on the ground. Sun-Yun kicks him and Hyuk is not licking the ground. Hyuk was shocked that a genius from Muram like himself could be defeated, but then his shock turns into crazed laughter. He finds it incredibly interesting and fun that Sun-Yun became so powerful so quickly. Acknowledging his opponent's strength, Hyuk suddenly summons a crystal and crushes it. This is a floor-invading penalty relief stone, an item that removes all his stat limitations. His power explodes in a massive purple aura as he asks Sun-Yun if he is curious why Hyuk is called the Blue Heaven Sword Dragon. Seeing this, a worried Sun-Yun can only curse in frustration. Chapter 62. His power overwhelms Sun-Yun, who can only curse at the sudden turn of events. Hyuk explains that he is using Strengthened Sword Chi, an ultimate technique that allows him to control the magic in the air around him. The purple energy twists and forms into the shape of a giant living dragon that moves with unpredictable and powerful strikes. Sungyeon is shocked by the incredible power, realizing it is a skill far beyond normal sword chi or sword flame. The dragon's aura extends far, making it difficult for him to even get close. Barely defending against the fierce attacks, Sungyeon admits to himself that he gravely underestimated his opponent. He regrets holding back to try and learn from the fight. Seeing his chance, Hyuk taunts him, asking where his previous confidence is gone. In response, Sungyeon decides he has had enough and activates his own authority, Heavenly Blood Cultivation Art, unleashing a powerful red aura. He tells Hyuk to prepare himself as he is now going all out. Hyuk scoffs and tells him to do his best, unimpressed even when Sungyeon uses another technique, White Sword Fold Emptiness. Then, fighting concentration, increasing his focus by 20 times. He manages to dodge the dragon's attacks and get behind Hyuk, but his strike is blocked. The dragon's energy whips around and hits him hard, causing him to cough up blood. Realizing he is severely injured, he activates another skill, Ashen Blood. Despite his efforts, Hyuk launches a final, devastating blast. Thinking he has won, he yells, "DI!" as the entire area is consumed by a massive purple explosion. However, as the dust settles, Sungyeon is still standing, though his clothes are torn and he is heavily wounded. Hyuk is genuinely surprised, admitting he did not think Sungyeon could fight him so evenly. Declaring the battle was fun but is now over, he moves in for the final blow. But Sungyeon roars that he will not die so easily. He activates Counter Shield, a skill that releases all the damage he has absorbed in one massive red beam of energy. But still, Hyuk. The attack pierces through Sungyeon's throat and he beheads him. At the same time, a system window appears for Sungyeon, activating his Last Stand skill. This ability nullifies the fatal wound he just received, amplifies all his senses, and perfects his other skills for a short time. He then activates another reward, the Ancient Emperor's Ash Crown, which grants him the power of ghost magic. Summoning the undead, he commands his undead servants to rise from the ground and attack. Hyuk, horrified, yells that Sungyeon is using necromancy and that he can never win with such evil arts. Hyuk kills all the undead and grabs Sungyeon by the throat, but before he could do anything more, he looks at his hands in terror as his body begins to decay and rot. Sungyeon calmly reminds him of the very first cut he landed on his cheek, saying, "I told you that scar would bother you until you died." The continuous damage from his demonic sword skill had finally taken its full effect. As the battle reaches its climax, a flashback reveals the past of Hyuk. As a child, he was mocked by his clan for being unable to perform even basic sword techniques. He was an outcast until he met his grandfather, the legendary Sword Supreme, who recognized his potential and called him a true genius for developing his own sword style. Under his grandfather's guidance, Namgung Hyuk grew incredibly strong. However, his own father was disturbed by his son's love for battle, calling him a monster and pushing him away. Back in the present, Hyuk's body crumbles to dust, and the Ancient Emperor's Ash Crown on Sungyeon shatters. Defeated and dying, Hyuk tells Sungyeon to finish him off. In the final moments, Sungyeon reflects on their battle, saying that even though it was painful, he found it incredibly fun to fight someone so strong from another world. He imagines that if they had met as friends, they could have shared their accomplishments. Hyuk coldly calls him a fool for having such thoughts. Before dying, Hyuk gives a final, chilling warning. He reveals that after he gained divinity, he made an enemy of a powerful god and was forced to invade other dimensions. He warns Sungyeon that all chosen ones will eventually have to face these gods, and with his soft mentality, he will not be able to protect the earth. Sungyeon furiously declares that anyone who threatens his home will be killed by him, and he crushes Hyuk's head, ending the fight. After the battle, a flood of system messages appears. Han Sungyeon has officially cleared the 14th floor and receives massive rewards for defeating an opponent much stronger than the trial required. He is also granted a new myth called Battle-Tested Warrior, which gives him the ability to fight at full power regardless of his injuries and to get stronger when he is at a disadvantage. By absorbing Namgung Hyuk's spirit, Han Sungyeon's unique trait, Necromancy, permanently ranks up to A, unlocking a mysterious new effect related to the god of death. Furthermore, because Hyuk had used an item to remove his invader penalties, his body does not disappear. Sungyeon's own demonic sword absorbs the blood from the corpse, growing in power and gaining a new skill slot. After his victory, Sungyeon was worried about his clothes, but his two administrators express they want to give him armor. So first, he meets the iron-blooded monarch, who congratulates him and gives him a necklace that can transform into a full set of armor. Next, he visits the White Crane swordmaster, who is initially jealous that he did not see her first. She explains that he should let her cut his hair if he's really that remorseful. Expertly using her sword techniques, she gives him a new look, which he loves. After giving him that robe's armor, she kicks him out, literally. Upon entering the 15th floor waiting room, Han Sungyeon discovers a new quest system has been implemented. He can now accept one quest per floor from the administrators, who were being so nice to him in hopes he would choose their quest. He then inspects his new Burrowing Heaven sword. Its most amazing ability is Sword Sense, which allows him to absorb the special effect of another sword and learn it as a permanent skill. The ability can only be used twice. In a moment of genius, Han Sungyeon uses the first charge of Sword Sense to absorb the Sword Sense skill itself. Now having in 3 use, he absorbs the sword's other main ability, Burrowing Heaven, which allows him to cut magic itself. Just as he finishes organizing his new powers and increased stats, he receives an urgent message from Heian because according to her, she had some important news. But before messaging her, he decides to open the community chat and finds out that they were talking about another invader from a different world called Ares has appeared and has just committed a massive massacre in London. Recalling Namgung Hyuk's dying words, Han Sung-yoon grits his teeth in anger, realizing a new, even greater threat has already arrived.